Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation first and foremost to new Patreon, Eric Troche, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
I'm on my way to you, John. I'm on my way towards you. I'm headed to Tennessee today.
And what brings the pleasure of Tennessee to have Neil come to it?
Hollywood.
I love me some Dolly Parton now.
Hey, listen, you know what my son tells me yesterday? Because, he's been listening to the show. We've been talking about him. So he had the nerve to say that Neil deGrasse Tyson is a heliocentric, and that's not the same as the globe religion. They're too different. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's the same thing. Because he's talking about the drift and Coriolis. Nobody listens to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, I guess you could believe you're on a stationary ball. So that's possible, I guess. Be a geocentrist.
Hold on. Neil deGrasse Tyson holds the rhetoric perfectly. Okay? My son's, he's a, what do you call that? Heretic.
At some level, he's accepted it as a religion then, right?
His whole thing is the 2 points in the sky, and the whole thing. He still stands on that like it's a proof. I told him, I said, Jacob, that was one of the first things debunked. What the hell are you talking about? You can't even validate anything you're saying. How do you know that that's the case? That there's different star rotation. Anyway, they all rise to the east, set in the west. What the hell are you on about?
I love the 2 points in the sky.
Good morning.
Hey,
I caught stationary ball. All of a sudden, globers are backtracking. Now the ball is not rotating.
No. My son is saying that heliocentrism and the globe are two different things. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody listens to him. That's not what we say happens.
I agree with your son. Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't know what he's talking about.
But listen, it's that whole thing with if you're in the southern hemisphere, you see a different rotation of stars. I don't buy that nonsense. I don't believe that.
Turn around.
I'm fine with it. I think it's great. It's great flat Earth proof.
No, I'm saying, has anybody validated that? Has anybody been in Africa or anybody been in the other side of the world and at the same time saw these different things?
Unnecessary. It's a flat Earth proof. Just let it keep preaching it.
So break that down again to me, how that's a flat Earth proof. Because I was in the middle of doing something.
Well, the idea of hemispheres, right, come from the celestial sphere model, because you're only seeing that personal dome right? So all they've done is taken the northern hemisphere, or the northern stars, and the southern stars, and put two flat Earth maps upside down together to create the celestial sphere in their minds. But they still need a flat plane.
Aha, that's correct. Can't get away from flat, can you?
It must be flat. I'm not even going to say why. But wave lovers can get triggered when they hear this.
They want to redefine what an angle is.
Well, no. You can't do that, Tent.
No, they
How do you
can't.
redefine what an angle is? An angle's an angle.
Well, that's what your son is doing. He's redefining what heliocentric is.
You know what bothers me? He won't even look. He won't even listen to anything that's being said about celestial navigation. It's like he just wants to close his eyes to that.
But Neil, that is why you need to back off and not worry about it, because these are.
No, I don't even. He comes to me. I don't.
No. I
say
know.
anything
But,
to him. I'm just talking to you guys. Like, it drives me nuts in my mind.
no, I know.
Why he
but-
won't even just. You got to listen to two sides of everything before you make a decision on anything. Otherwise, what are you doing?
No. What I'm trying to say when I say you got to back off is this is the sign of a person dealing with something that's tearing them apart from the inside. Give it the respect. This is good. This is really good, actually. When you see someone going through all the different gyrations that the anti-flat earthers and ballers go through, where the Earth is round but not turning, the heliocentric is not involved Coriolis. They start redefining their reified model. Wait a minute, who's giving up already? Who's
Exactly, because the 15 degree an hour, I said, Jacob, that's your sun movement that your heliocentric claim is happening. Right? We're turning, not the sun. Sun ain't moving, we are.
great? And if we're turning, consequences would be happening, and those consequences are not happening if we're turning. And then that puts them into another corner, and then they've got more issues with their model, so they backtrack from that point. And so next thing you know, they're willing to give up the whole thing and just keep parts of it and then argue.
So when Nathan decided to end the show without letting us know yesterday, who knows what happened? We had a pretty long conversation about certain individuals that are popping up and trying to throw some monkey wrenches in Flatzoid Stream by making homophobic comments.
I mean, the sock accounts and
No, there was somebody, Bob from Globebusters was in there, and he said something about Brenda, and Adam handled it nicely. Adam said, we'll not have none of those homophobic remarks. This is a class channel. And then he started away.
oh gosh, why do we have to talk about this?
Well, the reason we have to talk about it is
Because we're
community
destroying
guidelines.
ether. No, not only that, because the ether is being destroyed. All right? And it's funny how he comes out with that. Right after ether's being destroyed, he's popping in everybody's chats.
The community guidelines, if you allow something like that to take place on your channel, right?
Correct.
Then someone could possibly have your channel taken down for allowing that to happen.
Right. That's why Adam said what he said. I didn't catch it at first, but then when he explained it again, I said, oh, okay, I see.
All right.
No slides today, 10?
I could put up something if you're bored, I guess.
No, we're having a nice enough chit chat. Don't give me work to do. I don't even mind you slagging me off because the internet died yesterday.
I was wondering where you were hiding in a corner.
I thought you were going to come out when I said something about your precious Bob Nodell.
See,
No, my reaction was to the fact that you talked about the internet dying yesterday. I mean, that I can't control. I kept saying all through the show, just as I started yesterday, the internet just switched off. Today, I've got a different issue. Today, the camera's flashing. I don't know why. It's just the way it goes at the moment.
So your whole internet just shut down yesterday? Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I must have been gone then.
Yeah, we were all saying, like, did they end the show? I said, I don't recall them ending the show. And if he's going to start pulling these sneak escapes, we're going to have to deal with this.
Nathan doesn't do sneak escapes. He just escapes.
There was no sneaking. The internet just died.
Yeah, that happens.
Well, we kind of figured that. We popped on Discord to see if you were there. You weren't there, so we figured there was a death in the electronic world.
Well, I think on the previous subject that we only allow, again, this is just me, it's not my show, it's my opinion, you don't have to agree with it. You want debate. There's nothing wrong with debate. We welcome it. I love to have ideas and different exchanges of ideas, and you learn stuff that way. It's good. It's wholesome to me. But when people continually, year after year, come and they're not interested in actual debate. They maybe have stock accounts or they do different things while you're having a show about a certain part of the debate. And they never concede when it's a one-on-one with them, when they're proven wrong on their debate point. Like if I had a friend or friends that met on a weekly basis, say for golf, and afterwards we'd go to a restaurant and chit-chat. If one of them would never concede, he lost the golf, the tournament that the guys put on each week, that he lost. If he would never admit to it and be obstinate, do you think the rest of us guys would want to play with that guy again?
Probably not.
No. So no one could.
I wouldn't.
Right. So no one would accuse us of shutting down free speech. No one would accuse us of saying you're not letting him speak. That guy lost. He won't admit it. He won't pay up his $5. What's he showing up for all this time? And so, to me, these people either shape up or get them out of here.
Say it, ship out. Shape up or ship out.
Because they're not coming to give an opinion backed by something. They're coming like trolls. Now, if you want to have a debate channel and have trolls constantly come and do things, I guess that's a forum or a different kind of debate channel, but I wouldn't be for that kind of debate channel.
It's something about this, though. Even the other day when Nathan was getting around the show, we were all begging him not to. I mean, that's a testament to, the power of this show and the subject, really. Because, when there's no show, I'm like, damn, no show today? I don't even get that way with sports. So this has attraction power and it has staying power. And the fact that we're on top of it, I mean, come on. You can't get around it.
But that's my whole point of what I'm saying, that we should have higher standards and not let. I mean, when I heard Brenda go on Flatzoid's show, it was like rinse and repeat, same old thing, same. It's like I say, okay, what's it? In my mind, I'm already biased because I know what Brenda does. But then I said, okay, if I was a new person and I heard this for the first time, not knowing the past that I do know of all the crazy nonsense stuff that Brenda has said and hasn't retracted, not bringing anything to the table as a formidable argument. whatsoever. It's like, what a waste of time. What we don't need this kind of discourse. We shouldn't allow it. They shouldn't be able to just come and do what they do.
I don't think that was the point that was being made, though. The
I'm
point
not
that's
saying
being
that.
made.
No, I'm not saying it's a whole different point. I don't care about that other point. I'm not addressing that point. I'm addressing something else. We're being held back.
Okay, you're gonna have to
I'm
expand
listening.
on
I'm
that.
busy,
You've
but
shut
I'm
John
hearing you.
down and then not expanded on it.
Well, I'm pausing to give him a space to ask me, why do you think you're being held down? I'm not hearing anything, so I'm just pausing.
Well, I didn't want to. I don't disagree with you on the point that if somebody's just, not accepting or not taking in the information you're giving them and then just chanting at you, you can't deal with that forever. But
All right. So I'll expound as Nathan's asking me to. I think of the show not just today or yesterday, but the future. What's the future of the show? I'm always thinking, okay, why am I waking up? Well, I wake up anyway early, but why am I getting on the show when I wake up early? What's attracting me to the show? Why do I feel I need to be on the show? Why do I like being on the show? What do I get from the show? What's my contribution to the show? I have to go through those things because I'm expending energy. And so I have to think of the future. I have to think, okay, well, when is it that I don't like the show? When is it that I really like the show? How do we grow the show? What's the purpose of the show? Who am I trying to reach with that last statement I just uttered? Why did I even contribute? Okay, when I put all that together, I get a little ticked off when people come in as trolls and try to shoot that whole vision of the purpose, the end result, the ongoing nature, and the learning, the shedding off of poor arguments, the acceptance of better arguments, the higher standards. Sometimes the hyper specificity is needed, sometimes it's not. Learning to see how someone else sees a point instead of jumping down their throat and then saying, oh, okay, I guess you could have more than one view of this. But what is the basis of it? Can that change? No. The basis can't change. But you could have this view of it if you're looking at it from this perspective. And that's a learning thing for everybody. And that's what makes the show fun and great. So what's the purpose of the show? Is the purpose to put this big question: has our reality been hijacked? Are they trying to get us to live in some kind of reified model that doesn't exist and say that's our reality? Well, that's a great topic. I'd love that topic because now I could come in and say, well, my reality is this. And someone will come and say, well, my reality is this. And I say, well, yeah, but that doesn't match objective reality. That doesn't work. And then because they can't argue it anymore, instead of conceding it, they come in to sabotage the future of the show with their presence. And I say, if it was mine, I would say, you've been here too long. You haven't conceded. You're only here to cause chaos and havoc and keep us down. So either shape up or be gone. Virus? Who misses virus? Nobody. Look what he was doing all that time. No one in chat is missing him because there's no one there throwing grenades and saying,
yeah, but he's not permanently gone. He's on temporary ban,
That's the point. Whether it's temporary and they shape up, which is a good thing to offer them, or be gone because they will never change. Anyone missing all those chat skanks? Anyone missing 2 and 2 is 7? No, 2 and 2 is not 4, it's 7. No, I tell you, 2 and 2 is 7. That's all we got from these people is 2 and 2 is 7 when everyone knows it's 4.
Technically, it's 22, but I don't want to get into that.
We're not talking about hours on your work card.
Well, the thing is this too, you know, I think they come here because they're a little masochist, you know? They like it, but I understand what you're saying. It does get in the way sometimes of getting educated on certain things. Like the guy the other day when he just refused to listen to anything Nathan said. At the end, he was still right to wave. I don't care what you say. Who taught you this?
You've been in a classroom where there's disruptive influence, and the whole lesson of the day has been 86 because the disruptive student got all the attention.
Yep.
That's what I'm talking about. We no longer are on our show and progressing it, taking it to different levels, making it to where every age group could benefit from it. There's some great discussions we have on all kinds of things. Those things should be heard by many people. The trap is that we put the brakes on to deal with these types of trolls. And that in itself slows us down and puts us in a whole different lane of that highway when we could just move to the fast lane and just charge forward with what we're doing without any of these deterrences that are caused on purpose. So not shutting down free speech, but warning that if you want to come here, then be 100% involved, be 100% respectful, be 100%, realize that when we say, okay, I guess I was wrong there, that you could say that too when you're wrong. Or just keep playing with that guy in the same golf tournament, and he never pays up because
there's the entertainment value to the show too. Because I remember one time my wife said, "Where's Brenda?" She kind of liked, you know,
That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. They know that. That's why they come to give us that entertainment, to keep us from that next level that we can reach.
Yeah, I think you get both of them. No, I think Nathan does a great job of entertainment and getting the truth out there and the facts out there.
Now, see, this is good because you have a difference of opinion than me, and I look at that entertainment as organic and natural is fine. I look at trolls as saboteurs, so I can't agree with you.
Oh, not all of them, just certain ones, you know.
Well, did I say all of them?
I agree with you on certain ones. I can't stand Brenda when she comes on. I did like the smacking around Nathan gave, you know, because it's coming with truth. It's coming with fact. I'd never seen that before or heard that before in any of the other flat earth stations that I listened to. So it was new to me. I liked it.
The other flat earth stations don't even debate.
No, I'm talking about in 2016, 2017. You know, when I was just listening and when I found FED, I was like, all right.
Well, who doesn't want to see a live back and forth on the subject like the one we have? That's wonderful. But then when you say, I think there's a concerted effort to sabotage the show with trolls and chat skanks in the...
That's a different story.
But that's what I'm talking about, Neil. That's not a different story. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but no.
Oh, has my internet died?
No, you're here.
Was it just Neil? Oh, thank God.
What happened?
Now that was funny.
The show is the show is the show. And the show must go on.
I do like how Nathan, allows for change on his show, though. Like, because people can change. I mean, you can't force them to. But, it does allow people every day to come in new. Except for the ones that's kind of took advantage of that policy, and they've been removed. But
thank you. Now you're understanding what I'm saying. So that should be applied to everyone, because if Nathan is interested in the future of a show, if he could have Monday morning quarterback hindsight 10 years from now, will he still keep doing what he's doing now, or will he make some more changes? Well, he can only base that on the past because he doesn't know the future. But what has he done in the past? He's given everyone, hey, all are welcome, but just mind your manners. I mean, he says it every day. You can come back another day if you foul up and do it, but don't try to rejoin on a sock account. Don't. All right, we'll just enforce these things.
But the two people that got banned, that isn't why they got banned for joining on a sock account.
I know that. I am just saying that if, again, this is my opinion, which is how I started. If the same old zombie dies, but that really never dies, and it comes back again and respawns, I think is the word that you used before.
Yeah, it's a game term, respawn.
Yeah, okay. I don't know anything about it, but basically I get the gist because, they come back another day because you can be a zombie tomorrow. Come back another day because you could be a zombie tomorrow. Well, I don't want zombies coming to the show. I want people with real arguments coming to the show.
Well, there is no real argument against this, but the thing is isn't that beneficial to someone that's new to the channel to see
Yes.
the responses that are given?
Yes.
To a point. To a point, yes.
Right, but if they're new, it doesn't matter if it's Brenda, Rumpus, Akuma virus. To hear their responses and how they're contradictory to their initial claim, there's a benefit in that.
No one's saying there isn't, but when they respond for years and years, then it's not. Because they prevent look, if these people don't come in because they're responding, new people on their side have to come in with a different tactic. Well, this responding thing doesn't work. Nathan's caught on to us. So let's try this. Okay, then we catch on to that. Okay, well, that don't work. Let's try this. And they have to exchange their players. So they keep exchanging. I mean, are people doxing people? Are people literally trying to get Flat Earth channel shut down one way or another? Absolutely. You can it took an act of Congress to do what that thing says underneath every show. Archaic thing. It's not true. Beware. Okay, they're already trying to shut us down. And so they can't to a point, and they can't to another point. But let's just invade the show with zombies. Let's disrupt the show. Let's keep it from its final maturity.
I don't know. You view this like there's some overarching power commanding the masses to go in as zombies. And I don't see it that way.
Ask you something.
I see them all as individuals. I used to say the same thing when they didn't have faces and weren't on the show actually talking to us like the examples you've given. So when it comes to people in the comments, the chat skanks, as you called them earlier, well, they're still just people typing away.
Yeah, No, I'm not saying they're not. But let me ask you something. Why is it when I go to anything flat Earth, it's blocked or you can't find it anymore?
Because we're dangerous to normie society.
Why do I see Professor Dave popping up all the time instead of the good old real flat Earth?
Because the first line of defense against flat Earth used to be us. Don't want to go near that flat Earth crazy nonsense that it is. Here's all their stories. And then you watch in 2015, everyone regurgitate the feast of nonsense stories, making us all look very silly. And the truth that was to be picked out in it, luckily for us, was picked out in the end. But that was the first line of defense. We were here to provide that. Now the first line of defense isn't us because we've got too smart. Now the first line of defense is anti-flat Earth. That's the first line of defense against flat Earth now. So while it might seem to us that Professor Dave, as the example you give, is like, why is he getting promoted? Well, he's promoted as a line of defense to keep people away from this subject. That's what his purpose is now. He's in the same pond as us.
I thought it wasn't organized. I thought they were just random people showing up every now and then.
That's different.
No,
you're comparing someone like Akumu Virus or Brenda or Rumpus to the algorithmic powers that should not be in YouTube. These two things aren't comparable. The guy typing in his comment into a chat feed underneath the video isn't the same as YouTube's exercising their algorithmic dominance. Let's just put it that way. Those two things aren't the same.
I think I want to comment on that, if I may. They're more the same than you think, Nathan. Go ahead, Adam.
I don't think there's a grand sort of integrated scheme. I agree with Nathan in terms of the algorithms where we're being channeled, what's promoted, what responses searchers will give. What I found very interesting the other night was in watching Flatzoid, and what is still very prescriptive is these anti-flat earthers. It's like a computer game, and that's how I was recording it in the chat. Like level 1 is Brenda. Come in, and we've all had this when we all started our channels. Level 1 is Brenda coming in, and if you deal with that very quick, and this is what I found interesting. I did a bit of Mystic Meg in the chat, and I said, well done, you've passed level 1. Level 2 will be a white knight coming in, chatting all sorts of random bullshit maths, asking you random, and literally within 5 minutes, it's exactly what happened. They binned Brenda, and started going on and Flatzoid's sound. So he dealt with that very quickly. I then wrote, better get somebody else in quick for level 3 because he's destroying you. I'd maybe give Ruhif a call. Same night, I'm getting sarcastic comments from Ruhif and who, don't speak to me all the time, but it seems they are very prescriptive. I think they anti-flat earthers do have schemes, whether they're interlinked with the way we're suppressed with YouTube, I don't think. But there clearly is a constructed opposition out there that is working, certainly, as I would say, better together than we do as flat earthers. Because that was obvious what was going to happen.
Hang on. They only work better because, well, how does it know to be food? Yes, wonderful. They're more than happy to pat each other on the back, even if they're talking complete drivel nonsense, and back each other up in that. Never call each other out on that. So, I mean, yeah, they might work better together at the surface level, but to achieve that, I would have to give up a lot more than I'm willing to do, Adam. I'm sorry.
I don't want to achieve it. It was just, it's noticeable they're working together, unless randomly this tiny little YouTube channel of Flatzoids that managed to pull up Brenda in had these guys almost magically there ready, and the guy that was randomly there was the maths dude that was going to ask him unrelated maths questions to demonstrate that the Earth's a ball. Because if Flatzoid can't answer a random maths question that's unrelated to stuff, clearly the Earth's a ball. But it's that same prescriptive method that's always there It's always there. And that's what I'm saying in terms of them working. Clearly they are. Before Flatsoid's having a channel, his show starting, they've met up, whether that's chatting in Discord to say, I'll start the ball rolling, just be there to back me up. And that's a great compliment. But if the plebs that have been put to one side to humour us have to actually pre-plan like this because they know their skill set's not enough now to deal with this. They have to have white knights and distraction techniques. I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, I see your point now. I shouldn't have interrupted so hastily. Okay, what you're saying is, number one, big compliment. If you feel that that's necessary, then okay, well, I'm touched that you would feel the need to do such extensive preamble at a show. In this case, I'm talking on behalf of Flatsoid. But yeah, okay, I get your point. And secondly, it's very telling. If you haven't got enough to come back at us by saying, nah, there's just Earth curve, here it is. That should be the response. Nah, orchestrated attacks on channels and the chats. Yeah, very telling.
Well, there's Adam again, putting it together much better than I did. But I agree 100% with what he said. And that's the whole thing I was saying all along. So now you agree with him.
Making out like I disagreed with you. I only disagreed with you comparing the algorithmic promotion of authoritative content, in the words of YouTube, whatever position I've forgotten now she was in, but when speaking to Congress, versus suppression and non-promotion of us, versus or juxtaposed with an individual typing out a comment or coming here to spew their mouth and rumpus when they're hearing truths they don't want to hear. Those two things aren't. That was the only thing I disagreed with.
Yeah, but you need to be open to see the similarity of the two I was using rather than being dogmatic on one person having a cannon or a machine gun, the other one having a slingshot, and both are trying to do the same thing to you. These guys coming in are like the slingshot. Congress is like the cannon. Similarities exist. Why not just let us talk and stop saying this is harmful to kids?
Well, I hate to jump on the other side of the fence right quick for a second, but what if the indoctrination itself is almost algorithmic, and the way that they respond, the way that Adam just described, is just part of that indoctrination?
Indeed. Hence, I was going to suggest it, but I didn't want to demean Adam's point in that respect, because to suggest that they've had to get together to achieve that, I don't think is necessarily the case. You know, they can demonstrate on the fly a coordinated effort because they're of like mind in one respect. So therefore, I don't think it's necessary that they'd have to coordinate an effort in that regard. They just see what's going on and immediately react to it in the same way, like a bunch of little ants all moving in the same direction.
So when I take the natural flow of what I do, which is when I meet a new flat earther, like for example, or say, I didn't know about Rob Durham until Rob Durham did his video using CAD, and now I talk to Rob Durham. We share ideas and we talk. In fact, we're going to be talking hopefully later today. You don't think they do that?
But they're just of a different wave, as much as the analogy kind of bugs me that Math Powerland originally used. So Rob Durham's like OG Flat Earth, and back in the day, I remember seeing Rob's videos because he was doing stuff round about the time that I was looking and doing stuff also. And I'm not saying Rob Durham's faded into the background, but he's just part of a different wave that did receive promotion on YouTube. Hence people like myself and Adam would have found him. Whereas he's, in terms of him reaching you, there's a whole different digital...
That's not what I'm commenting on, Nathan. You're looking at it again. See, this is the beauty of perspective. You're looking at it from this one perspective that you thought I meant. What I meant was I am in touch with Rob Durham privately and he with me on projects. They do that as well, is what Adam is saying. So here's level 1, here's level 2. There's communication going on behind the scenes. How many people could say, "Oh, I think 10th Man and Rob Durham are working on a project." Well, until we talk about it, no one.
Okay. But that's not exactly a
So-
revelation, though, is it? They communicate with one
No.
another and
But
collaborate.
this is my point. Right. But you see how you went to Matt Powerland, which I didn't even bring Matt Powerland into the conversation, but then I respect that you saw it from that perspective. And then I have to say that's not the perspective I voiced my statements on. My statements on is that when the shows are down and no one's on, people who met each other are talking to each other on the flat earth side as well as the other side. And so if that's happening organically, which it is, then other things can be explained.
Okay,
I
then.
mean, so
Just about
why-
on just before the main show starts. Kemph, you weren't here, and Nathan, I don't think you were. But QE's promoted me.
I didn't know there was a hierarchy. Go on.
After the other day, QE said, "That's it. I'm not dealing with any more ether nonsense. I'm handing it to you." And I said I'll happily take that challenge, but I did want a title. So I've been granted the title, the emissary to the Ethereans. That's why yesterday, I think shortly before the cut out, I did ask the guys to rise when I enter the room.
What's an emissary as opposed to adversary?
Emissary.
Yeah, what's
Sorry.
an emissary?
Emissary is somebody that goes to meet, so a bit like an ambassador, but an emissary is probably more with a particular peaceful. You send an emissary to achieve peace, don't you? So, I mean, it prefaced with the Ethereans, which was Darwin's.
I must be the first to ask then, since you're now got that new title, emissary to the Ethereans. I'm sure the ambassadorship to the Polonian people is vacant. May I have that one now?
Sure.
So
you're like
I can't fill two business.
Thank you.
You're like the Henry Kissinger of flat Earth. Is that what you're trying to say?
No. Just I think QE's had enough of dealing with it and said, right, you just. I'm happy to do so. I think the way we're dealing with it is the correct way to just go through each of the claims succinctly and see where it leads. That's when QE told me to sod off, and he's not doing that. So but I think that to me is the way forward in terms of just. I'm happy to learn anything, I want to learn. So I'd be happy to be educated on ether or anything if there's something to learn. But like the other day, it was a genuine question in terms of what's happening with the light inside a ferrocell.
Right. Well, I'm totally reactive. I'm not going to be proactively going after ether. I just don't think it's necessary. I mean, obviously, when it pollutes up our show, then there's something to be done, and we do it reactively. But in the grand scheme of things, is it really a big concern? I know some of you on the panel will say yes, which is why I'm asking.
Rob. Yeah, no, not proactive, Nathan. No, exactly like the other day. It's brought to your door.
Brought to your door, you take care of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
it for the guys.
Did you see how Discord silenced after Adam had that with him? It was epic. I don't know how to describe it. That was epic.
Fill us in. What are you talking about?
When Adam walked him through the claim that the ferrocell was demonstrating the ether, and he walked him through the logic of that and what you would necessitate to be happening if that were true, and the end result, the silence that came afterwards, it was epic.
I think I've trimmed that out. I've done a lot of editing recently, so I can't remember, but it's out for the members at the moment. But I believe that made it into one of the edits about Ether. There's 2 coming out over the weekend.
Yeah, not to take away from your love field. That was highly entertaining. You know what I mean? But
that was crafted for entertainment reasons. I'm not going to pretend like I came up with that on the spot. It was while I was washing my hair, thinking about what would be amusing as opposed to what would make a great point as a comparison.
it was still a good point, though, because, you can't deny my claim if your claim has the same logic behind it. You know what I mean? So, but Adam, that it was, I don't know. It's like he led them to the cliff they were desperate to jump off of,
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you would like to join the discussion, be sure to mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by the Adam Meakin, 10th Man Rising, Refracted Curvature, Eli, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all, and shout out to Godzilla37 for the super chat. Really appreciate the support.
Afternoon.
How's it going, all?
Hooray for the 5 to 10% enthusiasm level from you all. Hooray, we did a great long warm-up. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
that if the horizon, in modus tollens, if the horizon is Earth curve, refracted or not, then you won't be able to acquire an elevation angle from Earth. We do acquire elevation angles from Earth. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve, refracted or otherwise.
Beautiful. Any evidence of gas pressure without a container? Shout out to the price of Adam for sharing the show immediately. Really appreciate it because the enthusiasm level's so high. Obviously, we need a good audience for this. There's a lot of fundamentalist religious zealotry. And in that zealotry lies a fundamentalist religious zealot belief that the sky is a vacuum. And that vacuum is called space. Outer space. The final frontier. Any evidence we can have the gas pressure that we all breathe without a container?
I haven't seen it demonstrated yet on a small scale.
So outer space is fake. Can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, then the gas we breathe would fill the space. Hey, Arwin.
No, the correct the correct terminology is the vacuum of space is fake.
Yeah, outer space. Space is just three-dimensional
There is
Euclidean
some
length,
space.
breadth, and depth, and you can have space. Space is real. A space can be described, experienced, etc., etc. Now, the outer space sky vacuum is a different matter. That's why outer space is fake.
They claim it's an open system, and to have gas pressure, you'd have to have a closed system.
Yep, it's as simple as that. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
What are you going to say or something?
Hold on. Can man repeat that?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you, Arwin.
Go ahead, Arwen. Go ahead.
Yeah, space volume. What we object to is the infinite volume factor, which is claimed. That is what they claim, right? That it is infinite. They do take a number just to be able to calculate anything about it, but the claim is infinite. So they claim infinite volume, and that is absurd.
What about molten iron core?
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I mean, just POS and X-rays.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Volcanoes, man. Where's the lava coming from?
According to current rhetoric, it's coming from tectonic activity, which pulls the molten iron or whatever it is that it produces in molten rock that is lava at the ring of fire, which is tectonically related, not molten iron core related. According to the rhetoric, I don't necessarily believe that.
Now,
Yeah,
how did we
the
get
molten
the
iron core is
rhetoric?
never supposed to surface, right? It's just staying down there. The volcanoes are only because of the friction on the surface, supposedly.
At the
Okay,
plates.
how's that validated?
Well, it isn't, but I'm just saying that when people say, well, how have we got volcanoes? Well, tectonic activity is claimed to be the source of the volcanic activity, not the molten iron core. Not that the molten iron core is invalidated by the claim of volcanic or otherwise activity at the surface. Neither are related, but there's no evidence for the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth beyond a backstory about Theia, some fledgling planet on an orbital collision course when presupposing the heliocentric model way, way, way back when time began. And then from that date to now, you end up with a collision that deposits a molten iron core, expanding the time period that they have for Earth with a molten iron core that's apparently oversized for it still to be warm. Blah, 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 blah. That's their backstory. But there's no evidence of the molten iron core itself, just that backstory.
Core, it never came to the surface again. It was just in there, and nothing about it ever came to the surface after that point.
Okay, what about when did we become rocks, though?
We were
That's a
always
different
rocks,
That's a
Neil.
different story. You're talking about Michelle Thaller's claim that we are cousins of rocks.
So molten iron core came first, and we're rocks cousins after that? I'm just trying to get the chronological order.
No. In the story, we, Earth itself, and everything that's developed from that in the heliocentric world, was born out of a long process of stars originally being born and dying very, very rapidly, but over time that slows down, and the process itself, when you have a star essentially go supernova, is the process of it forming and forging the base elements of life. And when that explosion occurs in supernova activity after the stars died, it blasts out all of those raw materials into space, which will eventually, through gravitational accretion, coalesce into a planet. And then through geological activity, you end up with the soup of life and the lightning and whatever soup of life they had creating life in their story. But the materials, the raw materials that are needed, have come from the heart of the dying star in their story. That's why we're cousins of rocks, according to Michelle Thaller.
Yeah, it's abiogenesis, which is the opposite of biogenesis, which is a natural law.
And what's the study of rocks? What's that called?
Geology, pressure and time.
Okay,
Yes, in essence.
so that's how we were formed, pressure and time? That's how I became? That sounds ridiculous to me.
What do you want?
Well,
it's
it is.
pseudoscience, isn't it?
Well, it is silly, but hopefully in time, they'll see the problem that they have between evolution and the molten iron core, and they'll incorporate it, and Thea will be the originating point of life, so that they don't have to explain how life was created on Earth. Then they can just kick the can and say in some other place it was created. Wasn't here, so we don't have to explain it.
No, that's already incorporated. So it's theory is already a get around in the way you're describing in terms of its sustaining life on Earth. But for the fact in the story of Thea, we have this oversized molten iron core. Their heliocentric timeline doesn't permit life on this planet in their story. Why? Well, because it should have cooled down too much. Hence the necessity for another planet, Thea, to smash into Earth at a glancing blow to deposit its life-giving, oversized molten iron core. So in a very real sense, it is already part of that story.
Well, no, it's not, because I got a little bit of feedback. The rocks aren't alive. You know, like you need life to have life. Life only comes from life. That's why the chicken or the egg is a philosophical question.
No, I appreciate that, but I'm saying, but for the fact that you wouldn't have a prehistoric soup, I've forgotten what they call it, but that soup wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for the planet being not only in the Goldilocks zone, but also having an oversized molten iron core. So in other words, one of the prerequisites in this story to have the life come from the soup of... Someone remind me what the hell they call that prehistoric soup. Anyway, for that to occur, you must have had the oversized core. So in other words, it's a sort of antecedent in their story.
Well, what I'm saying, though, is that is nonsense. They realize it's nonsense because they don't talk about it that much, rocks springing to life, except when Michelle Fowler makes crazy assertions. So why don't they just kick the can down the road to Thea, and life can come from somewhere else, and then they don't have to deal with how it started here. That can be their one free miracle.
That's also there too. Hold on. They have as well. That's also they can kick the can further down the road because while our story, the origin story of Earth as a sphere, is a story of being smashed into by Thea itself and all of its minerals, rocks, gold, platinum, whatever else is contained within Thea and Earth for that matter, mostly iron, has come from the heart of the dying star. So if you're saying kick the can down the road, well, where did Thea come from? Well, Thea is a result of gravitational accretion. So gravitational accretion is the overall God. But part of that story of gravitational accretion involves the accretion of the gases into the star for it to then form the base elements to explode out and form Thea later on in a different series of gravitational accretion events and then smash into Earth.
Right. You're still saying abiogenesis. Right? You're saying this is their story, abiogenesis. I'm giving them an out for biogenesis and not explaining abiogenesis.
But other than the point of conception of the universe, aka the Big Bang, they can kick the can all the way down the road to there, can't they? What's the problem? Why do you need to give them an out if you have to get quite far down the road kicking that can?
Well, right, but are you saying that life existed in the Big Bang?
No, but most people don't assess it based on the ontological primitives, nor will they get to kicking the can that far down the road. So although we have identified the ontological primitives at that point, most, if not all, people we encounter on a daily basis will not.
Well, no, I'm not even talking about the ontological primitive. I'm just talking about natural law. Biogenesis requires life to come from life.
Yeah, and as I say, you can kick that can all the way back to the Big Bang.
Yeah, but I'm giving them a method to do that by saying that life come from Thea instead of developing here on Earth.
Oh, I see. So you're pushing the story of the swamp that I can't remember the name of onto Thea. Well, I don't see that makes much difference, but fine.
No, not the story of the swamp. because that's nonsensical. That's abiogenesis, right?
Where's Adam?
With Thea,
Hold on, Neil.
hold on. With Thea, they don't have to explain how life was formed. It was brought here.
There are other stories. I mean, other stories other than the Thea story are available.
Now I'm calling for Adam to get the name of the soup. I'm sick of hearing soup. What's the real
Primordial.
Primordial
Soup. Primordial.
Soup. Thank you.
Right, but why not kill two birds with one stone, really? I mean, it's just economical.
Yeah, I get where you're going with it.
And that's about as much time as we've ever spent on the molten iron core.
I think it is. And without it being totally nonsensical, taking the mickey out of the concept in general, I mean, I think if you were a heliocentrist listening to this, you'd appreciate why yesterday we declared ourselves high priests of heliocentrism. I'd say we've got a pretty intricate understanding of their total nonsense. Wouldn't you all agree? It's because we're all ex-heliocentrists. I was talking yesterday when Insanity sent us a super chat because he got a mention about the fact that I was quite heartbroken in some ways, having just transferred a load of sci-fi that's based on space onto my hard drives pre-Flat Earth. And, you know, while that might give this sense or impression of me having the loss and then the new Flat Earth and how invigorating that may be, that also lends to the idea that most of us have that similar journey because we've all been educated the same way. We've all been given space toys when we were growing up and space Lego. For the most part, I don't know all your ages that well, but I'm pretty sure we're all similar in that regard. So therefore, because we've looked into it to the extent that we have, we've carried on beyond the point of finding out that it's not real anymore. And that's a little bit upsetting, but it means that you set up for the challenges that might come across your path as a flat earther with a damn good knowledge of heliocentrism to be in, you know, the position that you're in. As a flatty, you know, most of you will be ex-heliocentrists. Not just, you know, tacit, oh, I'm not really that interested. Oh, right, Earth's flat. Because those type of people just say, oh, well, what difference does it make? Because they've got no real emotional attachment to the heliocentric model when they come across the subject. They're the guy that I said, oh, well, what does it matter? It's like, well, if the heliocentric model didn't matter to you, then this probably won't either, because it's not an overarching part of your paradigm when you go about your day. But for some, quite a lot, it is.
Well, I got breaking news today. You can have a globe Earth and you don't have to be a heliocentrist. I didn't know that, but my son just told me.
That
there
is
are
true.
other globe Earth models. The concave model's not heliocentric.
But the globe model is. I thought the globe model was heliocentrism.
No.
globe is.
The heliocentric model of a globe is a globe model in a heliocentric system. Heliocentric means Earth moving around the sun, in essence. That's like a solar system based.
So they're saying you could believe in a globe without believing that the Earth is moving around or something?
Yeah, I just gave you an example. Concave Earth is not heliocentric. With concave Earth, which is just the application of the Haversine formula from a flat plane and angle measurements thereof, you've got you projected in terms of the angle that's realistically used up to the inside of a concave Earth. Well, when they reify that and turn it into a model, you have the entire stars, planets, all of the stuff that's described in heliocentrism inside the ball. You're looking in at it from the outside, from the inside edge, stuck like you are on a gravitron, you know, the things that spin around, the whirly-whirl at the fair. It's like that. But you're looking in at the stars in their model. You're not heliocentric, not moving around the sun. That's part of the overall system of stars that's internal to the concave model.
Right, I got that. But if you believe that you're standing on a ball, you're a heliocentrist, I thought.
Check it out. Insanity giving me $3 or £3.33. Now every time you get a mention, I'll give you money. No, you don't have to, but I really appreciate the support. Insanity. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, no, that's not true either, Neil, because there was geocentrists who believe they're on a ball that's stationary and everything's spinning around them.
Yeah, but they're geocentrists. They have a name. I didn't know that globe belief is can be non-heliocentrist.
Yeah, that can be geocentrist.
The guy who talks about the telescope example with the water in it, is it Michael Bowden, I believe? It's going back a long way. He's a geocentrist. You know what that is? It was just mentioned to you by John a second ago.
Yeah, it's the Earth that doesn't move. I understand that.
Right.
I'm talking about somebody who believes the globe.
How can you be?
The globe is the globe.
If you're on a globe that doesn't move, how can you be moving around the sun? That's heliocentric, isn't it?
Yes.
There's lots of globe models, Neil, that aren't necessarily the same as the Western world's view that we move around the sun.
You're not listening to me. Forget it.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Well, hold on a second. Neil, are you saying that you can't be heliocentric without the globe? I would agree.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you can't have a flat Earth moving around the sun, if that's what you're implying. But any evidence?
NASA wants to change. NASA wants to change the distance to the sun once again. Was that the eclipse in 2017 didn't correspond to the math? There was a 5-hour eclipse in America that didn't match with the globe maths. Obviously, everything is being brushed under the rug, but they still want to change the distance to the sun once again.
Well, they can. It's just done with a scaling value from Kepler's third law. So he takes orbital assumptions to the next level, but doesn't give you anything that can give you the actual distance. You have to insert it into the scale values that he offers to get the distances. And that required, up until now, the Christian Huygens assumption that Venus is the same size as Earth, hence the terminology in current understanding when describing Venus as Earth's twin. But that's just an assumption that gives you the scaling values to derive 93 million miles as the distance currently. But it's changed multiple times. Jeranism's done a very good job in the past of pointing out all the different changes, the sliding scale that they've applied to the sun over the years. But yeah, it's just a scale that they can change arbitrarily. And who's going to argue, right? The distances are set out in a sky vacuum that you're never going to ever visit. So, you know, in many ways, it's very 1984 in that respect. Well, they can be whatever distance we like.
Well, in that case, if they need Venus to be Earth's twin within that scaling value, and they're changing the size of one of the objects within the scaling value, would Venus change its size relative to the sun?
Yes. No, that's a byproduct. It's the one follows the other. So Christian Huygens assumes the size of Venus to be the same radial value as Earth, when assuming Earth has a radial value, which can only be derived from a flat plane. Well, yes, if you're going to change the scale of anything, let's say you increase the distance to the sun, that changes all of it in terms of everything must scale up. So, yeah, Venus wouldn't be Earth's twin anymore. It would be much bigger and further away.
So we'd have a bigger Earth. It would be...
No, that won't change. That can't change.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then Venus can't be Earth's twin anymore.
No, it can't be Earth's twin anymore. But after assuming that Venus has the same radius as Earth, it then gets called Earth's twin. But no, it wouldn't be Earth's twin anymore. It would be a different size.
So the scaling values would go out the window at that point, wouldn't they?
The scaling values would, but the scale itself, Kepler's third law, can be applied to anything. You just need to assume either a distance or a size of something. In this case, Venus.
Well, I'm just like, if we're assuming the distance of the sun based on Venus being the same size as the globe that exists only in their minds, right? And we change the distance to the sun, therefore changing its size, then Venus must change size in that scaling value, which would change Earth's size within that scaling value.
No, you can't change Earth's size.
So I think they're pretty locked in with that 93 million.
No, I don't think so. I think you can still change the scale. You don't, just because coincidentally Venus has the same radius value ascribed to it doesn't mean that it's tied to Earth's radius value when you slide the scale up or down. So Earth would have still have had to have had a 3959 mile radius regardless of when they changed the scale in the past. It still has to match up with those elevation angle measurements. It will always be 3959 for Earth. That cannot change.
I got you. The scale actually has nothing to do with the size of Earth, but the interjection of Venus's size.
Precisely.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, but your overriding point is still true, though, which is to say that the assertion of Venus being Earth's twin goes out the window if you change the scaling value. That's absolutely true. Any scientific evidence of gravity, as we're talking about gravitational accretion and Thea forming after gravitational accretion has occurred in the gases that have formed the stars, which have formed the gold and all the rest of it and blasted it out so we can have it coursing through our veins because we're cousins of rocks?
Which gravity?
Gravitational accretion would be Einsteinian in this example.
Well, there's no scientific evidence of either of them, correct?
No, none. It's not science. It's math.
Math is not reality, though.
No, in this case, there's a completely made-up extra dimension, the fourth dimension. Dun, dun, dun. Space-time, which is the thing that actually bends. That's the gravity. You know, the gravity exists in a made-up dimension that doesn't exist. So it's bending space-time. Yeah, that's the fourth dimensional bending of a concept known as time, which you can't bend or dilate. But you can in the maths.
That's almost like a counter space, isn't it?
Yeah, the two run very, very much parallel with one another.
What a coincidence.
Unmanifested, I must say. It's just an equation, though.
Yeah, but just an equation means that unless you're quantifying or measuring something in physical reality, describing something mathematically in a conceptual medium in a pseudo four-space geometry in no way correlates or relates in any way to anything in physical reality. Like me calculating how much magical pixie dust unicorns eat. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Can you define
colloquially a hypothesis?
When you say colloquially, there is no colloquial use of hypothesis in those fields. We're talking scientifically, obviously. These are scientific fields as far as they're concerned, are they not?
for the listeners? Can you define what a scientific hypothesis must be first?
Scientific hypothesis establishes a cause and effect relationship with an independent variable and a dependent variable. Your dependent variable is the thing you're studying, i.e. the observed effect, and your independent variable is your presumed cause yet to be validated. That's it.
In that case, no, there is no proof.
No, it's not like we're even asking for an experiment here. I mean, we're asking for a valid hypothesis. So not the experiment. You don't have to put it through the method. Just form a hypothesis for any of those fields, and there isn't any. Mad, isn't it?
So when they look at a star through a telescope and cannot do a scientific hypothesis, what then are they doing when they come out with their claims?
Observe and declare. Making stuff up, just making stories up. Jack and Ori.
That sounds like the church group. Name it and claim it, right?
If you like. The point being, they're not doing science, and we're asking for science from those fields specifically. They're the ones telling you the world's a sphere, so let's see your science. It says science above your door. Let's have it then. Let's see a valid hypothesis.
So when someone observes and declares, they could only do that if they had something prior to that that either was proven and they observe and declare from that, or something prior to that that was another observe and declare, and they're going off of another observe and declare, until you go back far enough to say, what did you ever have objectively real that went through the scientific method that had a hypothesis? Do they have anything?
No, they have to embrace the fiction.
Now they're saying we're only science, that we use science, and that's it.
Well, science in the broader term is knowledge, but the scientific method is a prescribed method for cause and effect. So if they're not answering a cause and effect question, they're not doing scientific method, nor should we hold them to it. But if they just want to observe and declare and say, well, in the broader term, science is knowledge, so this is my knowledge, so let me observe and declare. Okay, fine. What are you basing that on? Oh, another observe and declare.
That's why we're in the mess that we're in.
Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius, discussed earlier at 3959 miles. Also,
well, there would be curvature somewhere, wouldn't there be?
Also, Venus's radius, apparently.
Oh,
Antipodal.
John, go ahead, John.
The antipodal star rotation, that's proof of that Earth must have a radius.
Can you tell me through that?
No, I need a flat plane for it. I'm just trying to sound confident.
If you hadn't listened to yesterday's show, hopefully John will play along and explain how the assertion of antipodal star rotation, for example, is actually a description that takes place in a very specific model known as the celestial sphere model. And the celestial sphere model is essentially a flat plane with a hemispherical observation of the stars above your position. Now, in order to turn that hemispherical observation into what you on the globe think is antipodal positioning, you essentially have to sandwich two flat planes upon each other so that you can acquire elevation angles from either. But that is essentially the celestial sphere model with two flat planes at the center of it. And unless I haven't covered anything, I don't think there's anything left to elaborate on, but feel free to comment, John, as it's you that's basically brought this to a head.
No, that was well done. That's pretty much it. The idea of antipodal star rotation requires a flat Earth.
Isn't that epic? Moving on from the R value, any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle, what we were just describing on the celestial sphere, or hemisphere with a flat plane and another hemisphere with a flat plane sandwiched underneath it in order to acquire elevation angles from either to assert antipodal star rotation. Any evidence you can acquire that angle from a curved baseline in violation of that celestial sphere model we just described? I ruined that, didn't I? Because I took away all avenues from everybody. It's my own fault. The silence is my fault, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I think it's interesting that in the comments, people will say things like they never address antipodal star rotation, because it has their presumption of being antipode to yourself, right? But we just did. So I'm waiting on the counter argument to that.
I don't know, the last counter-argument to something similar, because it's along the similar veins to, obviously you can't acquire elevation angle measurements unless you've got a flat plane to acquire them from. Last time, they just said, look, if we take these flat Earth elevation angle measurements and ignore the fact that we took them off a flat plane and challenge you to show how they'd work on a flat plane after we've measured them on a flat plane, maybe they'll just do the same with antipodal star positioning. If we look at these stars, measure angles to them and deal with them in any way that will always require a flat plane to do it, and we ignore that fact and then assert that we're antipodal on a sphere, then I can make my example without necessarily conceding that I've had to acquire the information from flat plane in the first place and apply it in a flat plane model, aka the celestial sphere, in the first place. So they'll just want to dance past it in the same way they did with the elevation angle measurement in the first place, I predict.
Well, I did that one just for the trolls because I've seen that comment seems to be happening a lot. It's funny how these flat earthers never address two celestial poles. So there you go, guys. We addressed it.
I would take heed if I was you and you're an anti-flat earther looking to come and troll us. Try to bear in mind that since maybe the mid part of 2021, maybe the start of 2022, we've started to appreciate that almost every claim made by a sphere Earth has its origins in a flat Earth. Ergo, when you start barking at us as you've done in the past, things like, how do you explain celestial poles on a flat Earth? There's a good chance that we'll take that comment and show you how your original claim and misapprehension of a sphere actually has its heart and origins in a flat Earth. So be careful what you sow, because you might be reaping a flat Earth afterwards. I'm pretty sure that concludes the housekeeping. I think we covered all of them.
You didn't get axial rotation.
Ah, damn. Any evidence of axial rotation? Of the Earth-based variety?
I guess star movement's out the window now.
Well, you'll need a flat plane for that. I mean, it was
This
always...
where Neil usually goes, oh dear.
Ooh, sorry, say again, I rumpused you.
I just said this would be the point where Neil usually says, oh dear.
Oh dear.
It was always an affirming the consequent to begin with, so if I assume Earth is a sphere, then when I travel to the southern hemisphere, I will observe antipodal positioning when I look up. And I look up and observe the stars rotating, therefore antipodal positioning. So it's just if P then Q, Q therefore P. But this is much better. I'd much rather rub it in their face. What's that you say? Antipodal observations. Au contraire. That's a derivation of the celestial sphere model. But in order to make the assertion, you had to take your observer view with angles acquirable and sandwich underneath another flat plane to complete the sphere from the two hemispherical viewpoints. Well, that's still two flat planes sandwiched on top of each other. It's not a sphere Earth. There's no curve involved. It couldn't possibly be. It would violate the celestial sphere model. Oh, what a day. What a lovely, lovely day.
It's like with the dip angle to the horizon being claimed to be Earth curve when it's actually a differential between two flat planes, you know, and they accept that in their explanation when they draw out sea level, you know.
Or their claim of refraction when the maths that's been derived in orthographic view from the elevation angle measurements taken from a flat plane requires that the pure geometry of a sphere Earth be translated into the mapping, meaning that there's an essential requirement for them to exclude all refraction because the maps don't match the maths, even when applying the Haversine formula. I really like Brian's current example because it's cutting edge, right? It's right up there. So they've managed to weasel in an example where they've acquired their flat Earth angle measurements and are putting challenges to us. And Brian turns around and says, nah, you guys need refraction. It's a day-to-day, everyday fact of life on a globe. But the maths have to match 1 degree every 60 nautical miles. So if you include refraction, it knocks it all out. So you have to assert your geometric horizon. How's it working out for you, Rufy? Yeah, good. because otherwise the maths don't match up with the maps. They still don't match, because if you've got chord lines running through sphere Earths when you're taking elevation angles, it increases the distance based on a hump that would be included and knocks the measurements out that way. So Brian's got them running scared currently, because he's pulling apart at the minutiae level how they cannot use anything other than their purest geometry, which they relinquished back in 2020 when they backed refraction. But refraction? Oh, really? Well, that screws every bit of a claim to be navigating on a sphere ever, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you're going to beg the question and go down that road after the elevation angle that required a flat plane and the flat Earth model that you apply that angle in, and the idea that a circle can have a curved radius, you know, if you let them have all that, Brian's got them gutted. Even then, you know, it's like,
John, look at the lineup, though. QE, Nathan, Brian, you, 10th man. It'd be foolish to come up against this team.
But that's why I describe Brian as like a pit bull that's chained up behind the, you know, behind the main guest house. So that when the savages get out, you know, we're in there torturing them, and they get out the front door and run around the house trying to get away from us. There's Brian waiting. And them running around the house is metaphorically the equivalent of, right, we've got these flat earth angles. Shh, don't mention 90. Don't talk about the angle acquisition. Right, let's present them with elevation angle measurements that we've already pre-acquired and set them a challenge, right? And then we'll not mention the fact that we've got a differential between two flat planes when we're talking about the dip correction. We'll not mention the fact that we're utilising the geometric horizon, right? And then they sprint out of the building because we've nailed them on all of the above points. And Brian gets them, you know, breaks the chain and gets them by the ankles. He's like, hello, weren't you supposed to be applying refraction? Well, you can't. Doesn't match any of the mapping if you do. They're just screwed. They're screwed so many different ways. It's brilliant. We've got every single angle covered in this regard. No pun intended.
And then I can't forget Adjudicating when they try to come with math. We got the Adjudicating waiting in the corner.
What are you doing at the moment, Neil? Bigging everyone up. Why are you blowing smoke up everyone's ass?
I'm just saying, like I was thinking like a sporting event, like you compare teams. And you gotta be nuts to come up against this lineup. It's murder's row.
If you say so. I see it as an educational channel. Educating your average Joe on how their assumed globe is actually a flat plane. And how that conversion's being done is what's disseminated currently from this show, which I really appreciate. It's a good day to be a flat earther. If you've come here and you're new, you'd be like, wow, this is really on the cutting edge of this how we were deceived into being on a ball. Because it's a lot of the first questions people ask when they get here, isn't it, Neil? Well, how could this have happened? Well, that's what you're finding out now. For me, it's 7 years of looking into the subject to get you to the point where you can say, this is how the Earth that is flat is still measured as flat and then converted to a globe.
That's great. I'm talking about normal people that come in, that's great. They're going to get educated. But you have these anti-flat earthers that come in, and that's where the lineup comes in. Murderer's row.
Yeah, you just want to see an anti-flat earther getting a whooping, I can tell, Neil. That's really where you're trying to lead this, isn't it?
Not that. You got ether believers who say they're flat earthers. They come in too and get smacked all over the place and then start yelling at you.
Just because they've looked for the next guru to give them some answers doesn't mean they're not flat earthers, as you just implied.
Yeah, people are desperate for answers when the ones that they have are taken away from them. It's hard to fault them for that.
Exactly. Have some empathy, Neil. Hey, Brian. We were just talking about you.
Sorry. Until you could name the 5 constituent parts of a magnet, then you don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone. the five constituent parts of a magnet.
Yeah, that was one of the questions they threw at Nathan the other day.
The mechanical parts of a magnet is what.
Whatever.
That's terrible. Even the ballers wouldn't even say that.
It's farcical. I'll use Brian's word. It's farcical.
So yeah, we gave you a little preamble before you got here, Brian, in regards to your right in the thick of it, ground level, in the trenches, arguing with these tossers who've already begged the question. They've already ignored the differential between two flat planes to get a dip angle, and they're on to using what they must use, the pure geometry of Earth converted via Haversine, because if they don't, i.e. they apply refraction, it doesn't match anymore.
Yeah, it can't work with refraction, because that means they're taking angles. If they're taking any angles, then regardless of how they're saying they're doing it, they're using a refracted horizon. Even if they're using a tangent plane, it's going to be a different, completely different angle to what we see in reality. Or,
Yes.
sorry, to what they have to get with their globe, I should say.
Yeah, so they have to use the geometry, which is what we said in 2020. We're like, why are you saying refraction when your whole claim is based on this geometric assertion of an Earth curve edge? Why would you do that? You're destroying your own model. And now that's them sowing those seeds of refraction and having to reap them now when they're like, no, yeah, we appreciate that the maths has to match up with the maps when we take these angles from a flat plane. Don't mention that. Well, no, you've just told us for 2 straight years that it's all refracted always without exception. What is it, no Atmo day? Oh, well, when we're doing maps, it is. How's a geometric horizon working out, Rufy? Good? Nah, not at all. You haven't got one anymore. We wouldn't expect to see it, says AB Science. Nobody's expecting to see it, says Planner Walk. Nobody's claiming the horizon's Earth curve, says Tim Osman. Unless you Ruhif and you need it because you're doing maps. And then you ignored the fact that you've got your angles from a flat plane. It's all very embarrassing for anti-flat earthers at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, you get your correct latitude, not an incorrect one, not one you have to adjust for. Your correct latitude at sea with a marine sextant via Polaris and the sea horizon. That's the horizon they're claiming is refracted. That means that their whole, not just like, they don't understand. That means all and every bit of the heliocentric model is over at that point. Because it all started and ends, it all starts and ends with the observations to Polaris. As that's the back engineering of the radius for them. So if you're claiming that horizon is refracted, then you don't have a radius, you don't have a globe, you don't have a heliocentric model. It's all over.
Did you guys not hear us telling you that in 2020, by the way? Yeah, if you don't have a geometric horizon, as in the one that's lining up with all of the claims in your maths, then you haven't got a claim anymore. Now, you continued for 2 straight years to dig that hole as deep as it could possibly go by barking refraction at us. Yeah, that's a big problem. You know, just go and ask Ruhif if that's a problem. It is. Now, at the time, you thought it was great. Refraction, you haven't taken the refraction into consideration. Our claim of a geometric Earth curve edge is a straw man, we were told. I mean, do you guys not feel a bit stupid now? You should. It's a shame there's only 90 people watching, or 91. I don't know what's happened to the viewing figures. They're all over the place at the moment. Yesterday we were doing really well, and I was commending everybody for sharing the show. Today, you haven't even hit 100 viewers. It's amazing. All over the shop. Either way, please share the show. This is the cutting edge of how any globe claim required a flat Earth to make it. Should be in front of 5,000 people, as far as I'm concerned. Then again, I'm very grateful we're almost at 100, even though that's not the normal figures. Thank you very much, all the same, to people who shared.
Nathan.
Hold on, Neil. Thank you very much to all of you who did share the show. Please share the show if you haven't done so already. The reason we're getting close to 100 people watching is because you've shared, so I do still appreciate it, even though I'm speaking a little bit negatively.
I said, now you're talking. I usually say it should be thousands listening, millions listening.
It
Don't
should
forget
be.
to hit the like button, guys, so you get the notifications.
I'd have to do a lot less GoFundMe campaigns and so forth. Not that I'm financially motivated in any way. Oh, by the way, smash the super chat if you want to support this channel. It is nice, though. I like being sincere when I say that we're on the cutting edge. Shout out to Mike808 for hitting the super chat. Really appreciate it. Because we are. That is sincere when I say that we're on the cutting edge of this stuff. As far as declaring that we are as high as the heliocentric priests and our understanding the derivation of the flat plane to a globe, that's what you'd need to have if you're a heliocentric priest, because you're trying to disseminate that conversion to the rest of the disciples of your heliocentric worldview. Hey, QE.
Well, hey, QE. Where else would you hear that? What other show in the world would you be able to hear right now that the use of 7/6R will cause their degrees to 16 nautical miles per degree to work out at 80.5 statute miles, not 69, like in reality? There's no other show you're going to hear that on. This is the only show that's going to cover that topic.
I mean, that is very cutting edge. There very well be even, well-grounded flat earthers who've been here a while that don't follow that, because it took a while for it to sink in for me. I'm not just saying I relate to everybody who's watching, but I'm just saying this is cutting edge stuff. And sometimes it does take a little while for people to appreciate what you're disseminating, because you'd have to be in the cutting edge of the argument to hear an anti-flat earther declare their geometric horizon, to catch that they haven't got one anymore, to point out that if used correctly with their refraction, it works out to 80 what? That was a new bit of data.
80.5.
80.5 rather than 69. So when you convert it to statute miles, because the degrees doesn't match up with the land miles, but we'll get into that at a different time, I presume, it works out, instead of 60 miles per degree, or 60 nautical miles.
69 statute.
Turns into 69 statuette. But hold on, I'm just summarising it for my own benefit, actually. So instead of 69 statuette, you end up at 82, correct?
80.5. But just say 80.5. Just whatever's make us easiest. Instead of 70 statute miles, you end up with 80 statute miles, just to round it off.
Right.
That's only if it's 7/6R. If it's any more than 7, or if they're claiming any more than 7/6R, like with the Black Swan, where their radius is 250,000 statute miles, then it's going to be a lot more than 80.5.
That can't be.
Shout out to Goldie McKinnon, says PayPal is better. Yeah, it is better, because they don't take 30% of YouTube money, which YouTube does. Big love from South Florida. Really appreciate the support, Goldie McKinnon. Yes, but we must appease our YouTube overlords, so I still promote the super chat. And I genuinely like the fact that I can shout out the person live when they're promoting me, and don't begrudge the 30% that YouTube get for the fact that I can actually say thank you to you, Goldie. So thank you. I really appreciate the support, as much as I
Goldie is ace.
To smash the super chat. Go ahead. Sorry, mumbling to myself.
Can you play audio clips?
I can. I am
Go
set
to
up to do so.
Ballbusters, and by the way, make sure you check your personal messages.
Do I need to do that before I play the clip?
No, you don't.
Okay. Would you like it right now?
Yeah, it's short. It's only a few seconds.
No, not show the crops. Why is it every time we get to what's ether, we get shown crops growing? It's not ether.
I just asked you a simple question, Nathan. What are all the mechanical parts of a magnet?
What the hell did you just say?
What are all the mechanical parts of a magnet?
You unlock this door with the key of
retardation.
Beyond it is another dimension. You're moving into a land of
bullshittery.
You just crossed over into.
What are all the mechanical parts of a magnet?
Numpty zone.
Very good. Well worth playing.
I brought that up today. That was it.
You did. I didn't remember it. I've got to be honest.
I made a mistake. I said constituent parts. Excuse me.
Is John not in Ballbusters already?
Nope.
Why the hell not? I hope that answers your question.
That's what I said.
He is in Ballbusters.
Apparently not. I thought he was. Maybe I should take the blame for this.
Morning, fellas.
Hey, Chocolate.
I'm the only non-member in Ballbusters.
Hey, we might hit 100 people. That's probably because Chocolate's got here.
Oh,
Go on, smash.
really?
Smash that share button. Come on, we can get to 100 people. We can keep that momentum going. So it's been a good day, Chocolate. We've been on the cutting edge of describing how the conversion from a flat plane to a globe Earth, and indeed covering concave Earth. We've covered geocentrism. You name it, man. This has been a really cracking show. It's just a shame there's very few people watching it.
Well, when you bring out the chocolate, most people show up then.
You've seen him, he's an absolute Adonis.
Oh my God.
You want some slides to go with the topic of the show?
Did you hear that? That's an outrage. He's like, oh my God, so modest.
Chocolate raises the bar.
Boom.
Boom, boom.
Let's change the topic.
You want to show some visuals for the topic for today?
Yeah, sure. As we've got 3 minutes left.
Yeah, it's a master.
Okay, ready when you are.
I was going to say my magnet mechanism is broken.
This is not a magnet repair shop. Take it elsewhere.
Well, I'll fix it. Just get ready to listen to the next attraction here. So here we got an angle. Two straight lines meeting at a common point called a vertex. The next slide will show that that angle just happens to be 45 degrees. A, B, and C, and then you got the angle. The next slide shows how a baseline is necessary for an angle. And this one shows 45, 45, 45, 45. The green is 90. That's your zenith, the highest point. The next slide shows a protractor, and it's easy to follow here. The angle ACT is an acute angle since it's between 0 and 90 degrees. Pretty easy to follow, pretty obvious. You can't get an angle without a baseline that's straight, horizontal, flat. No curved lines here. And then we got the last slide, what they did. And refracted curvature talked about this. So he's still here. I'll pass it on to him, or I'll pass it on to Nathan to comment.
Still there, John?
You go ahead. I got my hands full.
What we've got, I don't like this diagram. So we've got, I'm sure you've got a better diagram than this.
What? It's a protractor. One up, one upside down.
Okay. So you've got the globe Earth as a grey area that's partially obscured by the two different hemispheres we were describing earlier. But it's got a projection of the map up onto the globe Earth surface without a celestial sphere around it, to make the example clear. I don't know what to do with this.
I know what to do with it. This is without the celestial sphere, and we just discussed what angles were. And the only way you get an angle is from the center of a presupposed sphere, where you have to cut it in half, have an equatorial plane. None of their angle measurements in their nautical almanacs come from the surface that's curved. All the measurements are as to be taken as true altitude from the center of the Earth. Right now, John brought to our attention, when you cut this sphere in half, that center of the Earth gives you the baseline straight to get angles from. The angles are never measured and can never be measured from a curved baseline. So in fact, the center is your Earth. We are living on a flat plane, and they've just stuck in the middle and put two protractors, one upside down, and it goes 0 to minus 90, and one upwards, 0 to plus 90. Now, you want one that shows the celestial sphere, Nathan? Is that what you're asking for?
Oh, that would be great to end on. Yes, please.
All right. See if I can find one real quick.
My objection to this is it doesn't show the origin. Yes, it shows it cut in half, and yes, it shows it like a protractor. But to your average normie, they just look at this image and go, well, I'm just standing, round about here on the top of this curved surface. What's the issue? It's like, well, if you didn't pay attention to the last 3 or 4 minutes of description, then this won't immediately pop out off the page as being the protractor, and the grey bit being the surface that you can only get the angle from, even though it was literally explained only 30 seconds earlier.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You're the one who wanted it.
Well, it's just this is a much better depiction. So I can flip between the two and say, look, the angle's only ever going to come from the centre of this section. The reason it's shown in half is because you've got one section giving you an angle. That's the flat plane that will give you these angles that were shown in the previous presentation. But then you can project that up to a redundant central section sphere with the same grey area cut through the middle of it that you're going to be getting the angles out to the stars projected at an infinite distance onto the celestial sphere, which is this. So the globe, when you consider that the angle is going to be coming from the centre of it, is made redundant in this diagram. So then when we cut to the hemisphere of the arc of the heavens that you'd get in a perspective view, when you cut the globe in half, and it's almost showing it with this diagram, this isn't bad, it shows that the angle goes to the centre. Well, that means that this is redundant. What you're actually measuring is an angle from a position to the star off a flat baseline. Well, that makes this section in the middle, called the globe, redundant. It's just projected in via a Haversine formula that took this angle that goes to the centre and projected up the map that you were standing on flat up to the concave position in the central part of this globe. Completely redundant. All you're doing is measuring an angle. So where's the angle residing? Here.
They had to do that.
Redundant sounds like the globe in an action.
Yeah, but they had to do that because you can't get an elevation angle from a curved baseline. They had to do what they did.
Precisely. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Did we hit 100 people? Yay, 100 people watching. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming Streams, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
It's two flat planes, one flipped upside down and pretty much sandwiched together gives you the celestial sphere. So to make the assertion of antipodal star rotation requires a flat plane.
Yeah, I didn't hear it earlier as a response to your question. No, I just woke up, man. That's too heavy for me right now.
That is just, well, it is heavy stuff. It's cutting edge stuff. I'm not saying that it's beyond QE by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying that, when you've just woke up and you've still got sleep in your eyes, you're like, what? Antipodal flat Earth over a celestial sphere model converted via Haversine being two antipodal flat planes sandwiched on top of each other. Yeah, that's a lot to take in the AM. I can still taste the toothpaste.
I haven't brushed my teeth yet.
Special shout out to all my antipodal people. Got to give a shout out to them. Thanks.
That goes against the model, doesn't it? Because in celestial navigation, you cannot have more than 90 degrees.
Yeah, they're only
Anything above
mathematically antipodal.
It doesn't matter.
Well, there's nothing to worry about because the whole process for them starts with a tangent plane, which is an admission that this process cannot be performed on a curved surface.
That's correct.
That's the actual beginning and end of their whole argument. the fact that they use a tangent plane. Because tangent planes aren't real, but horizontal planes are. Nathan, just for you, because I don't know, I would like to make sure that you definitely understand it. When they're using a refracted horizon, that means they're using a globe that has a radius value of 4,618.83 statute miles, not 3,959. So there's over 600 more miles of a radius value. That means that what that will do is it won't change the 60 nautical miles per degree. What I mean is it won't change that there's 60 nautical miles within a degree, because there's always going to be 60 minutes within a degree. There'll still be 21,600 nautical miles or 21,600 minutes of degree on that new big sphere they're creating. But the problem is, when they're using what they're claiming to be a refracted horizon, that changes the conversion rate between the nautical and statute mile. Now the nautical mile to statute mile conversion is 1.34 and change, as opposed to 1.1508. So consequently, they end up, if they're just using only 7/6R, which is always a constant in their model, because it has to be, that means they always have 80.5 statute miles for every 60 nautical miles, because they're using what they're claiming to be a refracted horizon. Now, in reality, we use that same horizon and get 60 nautical miles to 69 statute miles all the time. But they have to claim that horizon is refracted, because their geometric horizon, if it was to be seen, it would be down low, away from where the horizon we see is, because we see an horizon in our horizontal. Whereas they're in our horizontal, or appears to be in our horizontal at all times. Their horizon has to be below that, and continually, as you rise, it continually has to go further or lower than your apparent horizontal. So when they change the size of their sphere and use that new refracted size, that means they're changing the conversion rate from nautical to statute miles, destroying all claims of 60 nautical miles per degree. Sorry, becoming 69 statute miles, I should say. 69 statute miles per degree is destroyed. That means it doesn't work in reality, for anyone listening.
Yeah, that checks out.
Well, we've heard them claim a lot more than 7/6R, haven't they? Like, I mean, like as I said earlier, but the original Black Swan, the photograph used for the argument, the original one from 2016, that would make the radius of their globe 250,000 miles, statute miles. So that's going to be a pretty big change in the nautical to statute conversion rate.
Yeah, but that's what they say, Brian. They say, who gave you that number? That's too small. Earth is bigger than that.
Well, they don't, Neil. What they say is that refraction makes the Earth look bigger. And then they go and use the very horizon that they're claiming is refracted and get their correct latitude. So it would be impossible to get your correct latitude if we lived on a globe and you were using a refracted horizon, because your correct latitude would never match the geometry of the globe. Or so the latitude, you would never get correct latitude, couldn't even exist under those, because you could not, under those circumstances, because nothing would be consistent. So it would be completely pointless trying to find your latitude, because the horizon would never be in any kind of consistent position, you know, because your globe is always getting bigger and smaller, like a melodeon, like a kind of accordion.
That sounds ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yeah, but that's what they have to claim. Your latitude is based off of Polaris. It's measured at sea between the sea horizon and Polaris. That's how you get your correct, and I keep using this term, correct latitude. That's how you know your latitude. North of the equator, while at sea, using Polaris, the sea horizon, and a marine sextant. In their world, that horizon is a refracted horizon, which means they could never get or even have a latitude. And we might have a correct latitude. Latitudes could not exist under those circumstances.
Well, I was wondering if it'll ever get to the point where they're like balloon earthers and they believe like the Earth is just puffing up and shrinking.
Well, they already do
The
believe that, but they don't know
wobbly
it.
Earth, yeah. It's not a new idea.
Well, the idea that it's refracting, refraction isn't changing the actual size of anything, but it would change the measurements of the size.
Right.
I was just wondering how far they'll go to keep the sphere, the idea of the sphere and a radial value. How far will they go?
Well, the wobbly Earth model forces anybody to when they want to entertain it, you have to physically measure every part, because the visuals are no longer reliable at all for measurement. That's wobbly Earth consequences. It's pretty much the same predicament as where the anti-flat earthers are.
To completely divert away, I was watching one of your re-ups. I think it was yesterday. My days are all getting confused. And I was watching the pre-show, and was it 10th that brought up that sniper? There was a sniper up on screen. Am I correct? Hello? My mic working?
I remember bringing up that sniper and what he said. Yes.
What did he say exactly?
I'll have to go find it, but basically he doesn't do Coriolis because at 3.8 seconds, I believe. Let me go find it, but it didn't apply.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't. Was he actual military sniper or just somebody saying he was a sniper? That's all right. Go ahead and go get it. I had a point with that. I remember many years ago, I was sitting around and people were bringing, ball tarts would be bringing up, every other second about snipers need taking into account the Coriolis effect. And I remember sitting there one day and I said, listen, I need a sniper. You need to bring an actual sniper in. I need to see his DD-214. He could black out all the other stuff just saying that he's a sniper. And I want him to show me. Now, he doesn't have to come on the video and shoot anything. I want him to show me his calculations that he uses to friggin' hit targets at distance. And if he uses the Coriolis effect, I'll eat my friggin' shoe. That's what I wanted to bring up. It was pretty funny, but
all right. I posted it up if you want to read it.
Where is it?
Master D. Yeah.
That's got a new name now, doesn't it?
And a new picture.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
What was the American sniper's name? Chris something, right?
Yeah, it was Chris something. I can't remember the man's name.
I can't remember his name, but I'm sure he took Coriolis into account. My son's in the backseat. My son just said, yeah, he did.
Ask our son then how many fighter jets fly faster than his bullets, which means they will cover more space at top speed. And how many of them take Coriolis into account? Coriolis effect into account.
I don't think they know the definition of it. Like, if the sniper did say that, I don't think Coriolis is what he thinks it is.
No, any sniper saying that is saying, I'm ignorant of what I'm talking about.
We're going, John.
I was just going to say that a lot of times, like any inertial change in vector will be ascribed to the Coriolis effect when it's an actual deflection, not an apparent one. So
the comment that's on the article says, under the topic Coriolis, in some of the sniper movies that I've seen, snipers adjust for something called Coriolis. in the sniper community, so he's making it sound like he's in the sniper community.
Yep.
Coriolis is used to determine how far our target will move away from the intended aiming point due to Earth's rotation. This was something that I did not take into account because the flight time of the bullet was only around 3.8 seconds. So this is, I think we did the math too. So 3.8 seconds, how much, depending where you're at, if it's at the equator, 1,000 plus miles, per hour, how many feet does that cover? So you got to aim that many feet away from your intended target. And then it shows him with a picture hitting that target and he's standing next to it. But did he aim hundreds of feet to the right, anticipating it was going to show up there, or did he have it in his scope?
Nah, that's silly beans. He also said down below, I recall, on a deployment as a sniper in Afghanistan. So definitely military.
Yeah, but the admission is fantastic here because all you got to do is say, oh, okay, so for 3.8 seconds, Coriolis doesn't affect it then. That's right. So
yeah, that definitely checks out. But
yeah, so the Earth
put a vehicle in the air for 14 hours? Nah, you don't need, Coriolis. We don't need that. What a joke.
Are you going to be using Coriolis? Nah.
Nah. For this 10-hour flight? Nah, don't worry about it. But that 3.8 seconds that bullets in the air, definitely need to account for that. Sure.
Or a winning field goal.
Yeah.
Any winning field goals. And
but that's how it's always been, Brian.
The globe. Sorry, Neil?
But that's how it's always been. Make it sound ridiculous, and they're on it.
Yeah, because you have to account for something that's a purely optical effect. With mechanical devices. You know what I mean? You're joking me.
Imagine the situation that you are under attack and you ask for, aerial support or something like that, and you give the enemy's coordinates, but you need to account for Coriolis.
And accidentally drop bombs on yourself.
I haven't been able to read the whole thing. Did he say that he did employ it or he didn't?
Did not.
Okay.
Yeah, did not, which is telling because they don't understand what the claim of Coriolis would mean. You would have to account for it if it was 1 second, let alone 3.8 that he says he did it because it was so quick.
Is this the same guy? I was going to say he wouldn't have lied because he's a ranger. If he did, I would have to get in touch with him. Right? Is it Nick Irving? He's down at the bottom of the article. He's the one who wrote it. Is he talking about somebody else or him?
Well, I don't know. I'm looking for something else right now, so someone else has to read it.
Yeah. I'll give it a read after the show's over. Not a biggie.
Okay, I found what I'm looking for. So 1,000 miles per hour converted into feet per second. 1,000 miles per hour is 1,466.6667 feet per second. Now, times that by 3.8. 3.8 times 1,466 feet per second. He would have to aim how far right?
I mean, yeah, that's all true. I worked out a bunch of different ones, but you'd have to, specific to be technically correct, you would have to take his example. Was this shot, where was this shot taken?
I have to go back to the article. Hold on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You'd have to get the exact, what they say, right?
Well, I know. I don't care
the
if
exact latitude.
With the tangential speed. If he was in Afghanistan, you'd have to figure it out. But we all get the message, 10th. It's going to be quite some distance still.
Well, the thing about it is that to do that in reality, you would have to be using the claimed rotation speed at that latitude, right, and then on the spot convert it into a degree, a degree change, an azimuth degree change, wouldn't you, with the barrel of the weapon?
Yeah, you'd have to be pointing off the target.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian, but at 750 miles per hour, somewhere in North America rather than the equator, 1,100 feet per second. Times that by 3.8.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
It don't matter.
Nope.
Yeah, and your degree change with the barrel of the weapon might be like only, like say, a percentage of a degree, depending. So how could you know that your little percentage? How could you even know you have the correct percentage of the degree, or 2.38 degrees azimuth to your left? You never know. You're never be able to do that. Humans are limited. Like
that doesn't happen. That's a crock of shit.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, even within the paradigm of that supposed to be happening, it would be impossible for a person to calculate it.
At 100,
to actually physically account for it, it'd be impossible.
At 100 miles per hour, it's 146 feet per second.
Yeah.
So he can be right next to Santa Claus. And you have to aim 146 feet right of Rudolph before he hits him.
I told you, I'm going to become a defense lawyer, and I'm going to get all of these gang members off that got convicted of drive-by shooting.
Okay, then.
Well, that makes it even harder because you're in a car that's moving and you're shooting at a car that's moving or people who are running. Yeah, the Coriolis is their death, just like lack of all the other housekeeping questions for the most part, is their death. They got nowhere to go. These are all good questions.
They'd be dead. It's been over for the longest time. Game over, man.
Well, the argument's dead. So
Well,
they
like
have to
somebody
troll.
said, like somebody said, they can't even define the Coriolis. You can't. I haven't heard one baller in 7 years define the Coriolis effect correctly. Not one.
That's correct. You're right. I haven't either.
The sniper did. He just didn't account for it.
I've heard Globers define it correctly until then. Hold on, let me finish. Until we then remind them that there is actually no such things and that everything would deviate, and then they backtrack like, oh wait, that can't be right. It's not moving. But they would start out just saying it correctly.
Yeah, who did?
I don't know.
Not one.
Not anti-flat earthers. Just Globers out there.
Actually, to be correct, you actually did give Danny T props for actually defining it correctly. Until then, after that, he proceeded to say how planes would fly backwards, of course, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. I don't know if he had the full definition, though, but he had the concept. So
Yeah, the base concept of it.
Yeah,
good enough to for you to continue the argument, which then he clearly said that, yeah, planes would be flying backwards.
Yes.
Good job, Dave.
Can we have a breakdown of planes flying backwards and snipers?
We can, but
yeah, because I just wanted to ask that. Is Coriolis exclusive to projectiles?
What do you mean exclusive to projectiles?
What Coriolis?
It's not exclusive to anything.
Hold on, everyone stop.
So
just let Fleric ask his question.
So, yeah, thank you. So in the heliocentric model, while the Earth is rotating, but I go outside and jump up, I won't experience or expect the Earth to rotate underneath me, right? But this would be the case when a bullet is fired.
No, wrong. So that's a misapprehension that's mixing anti-flat Earth rhetoric with globe Earth rhetoric. So, yeah, you would expect Earth to turn underneath you as you jumped up and down for the person who's still attached to the rotating non-inertial turning reference frame to see you seem to drift. So, in other words, for you to be exhibiting the Coriolis effect as the projectile jumping up and down, you must have a person observing you, seeing you seem to take a curved path as you jump up and down. Not because you've jumped forward or backward, you've just jumped up and down. But as the Earth rotated underneath you, that up and down would seem like a curved path as I watched you rotating underneath. So no, it's a misapprehension that you wouldn't have Earth turning underneath if you jumped up and down. You would for there to be Coriolis effect, if their claim is true.
Yeah, right.
Was he
all right? Perfect.
But was he saying that it's not the Coriolis effect if you jump up and the Earth spins under you, which it would have to be because of the prerequisites, the requirements that would make the Coriolis effect true. You follow? It's a result of a non-spinning or spinning non-inertial reference frame. Follow?
Yeah.
Not the Coriolis effect. It's just the results that come from it. I'm hearing silence.
Okay, he did say yes, but what Q is driving at is that the reason I introduced somebody observing the guy jump up and down is because Coriolis effect is the observation of the projectile seeming to curve as you rotate beneath it. So the guy jumping up and down isn't experiencing Coriolis effect if the Earth rotates underneath him, which is what's claimed to happen. The guy observing Coriolis effect is the third person I introduced into my example, where I'm observing you jump up and down and seeming to curve as you do so, because that is Coriolis effect. It just doesn't happen. Nobody's observing a man jumping up and down and going, wow, that guy curved away pretty quickly as Earth turned beneath him.
Right. And the confusion of mine comes from that, in a way, in the practical application, the Earth even is considered an inertial frame of reference, right? Not a non-inertial frame.
The Earth would be the non-inertial frame of reference in their claim of Coriolis.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but Earth isn't a non-inertial frame of reference spinning beneath stuff not attached with notice.
There's no Earth-based Coriolis. That is correct.
For an example, let's say the Earth was spinning, right? At that speed. Well, it's preposterous to even think about it, but let's say it was, and he did jump up. Well, he'd be affected. Right? It wouldn't be a Coriolis effect.
It'd slap into a tree effect.
Right? Yeah, it was. Some bad things would happen.
Now, this idea that Earth is turning, is that dependent on Earth being a globe with an axis?
I don't know. I guess you could spin a rectangle.
Right, but
yes, it would.
I'm just waiting for all the football coaches to incorporate this into the games. I don't get it. How is Neil deGrasse up there talking about, people are winning field goals because of the Earth spinning underneath? How is that not incorporated into the playbooks?
They couldn't do that. They couldn't do that, Chocolate, because part of the field is moving faster than the part of the field they're on.
I was just going to ask you that. You broke that down in Ball Busters once. That was great.
I was just giggling about Neil being a defense attorney and arguing that the gangsters weren't shooting at the targets they hit. It was their attorney grenade. Like, I just imagine the prosecutor arguing against the turn of the Earth just to get a conviction.
and all I can think of is My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah, all I can think of is a football analogy with sideline.
Are you sure about that 5 minutes?
I tried to say something.
Right, again, you'll get there 10th.
Yeah, well, the football analogy sidelines all their arguments.
Nails was better.
Hash marks.
Just out of interest, Fleric, were you okay with us moving on, by the way? Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, I got it. Thanks for clarifying. Great.
Cool. No worries.
Well, what side of the argument is he on?
With a name like Fleric, have a guess.
I'm not his mother.
Fleric, as in flat Eric.
I'm not looking at anything.
Nathan gets it.
No, you told me. I asked you because I didn't get it.
I get thrown under the bus.
Does it really matter anymore? There's really no side of this argument.
Correct. They're all in the same pond.
Facts.
Exactly, John.
You missed my pun. No one said anything.
Well,
I said,
Just don't mention it. Just leave it out there.
No, say it again, because there's so much going on. I did miss it.
Nathan asked him if it, or somebody asked if it was clarified for him. I said, no, it was clarified.
Very good.
Very good.
Oh, that wasn't
Now, see, I
intelligible
didn't
in
hear
the
that.
moment you said it.
Yeah, because you were talking.
Got him.
Not at that time, I wasn't.
Yeah, I was rumpus and QE at that moment.
I'm waking up now, getting sharper.
Well, you're going to be a straight arrow this weekend, right? You got competition?
I'll tell you what, if anything could go wrong, it has gone wrong this week. I've been trying to fight it, and I'm just not fighting it anymore. I'm still gonna go shoot. I don't got all my stuff squared away yet, but
Well,
I'm
if you
gonna
were
go anyway.
if you were to take into account the Coriolis and Earth rotation, you might do better.
Yeah, right.
Hey,
No,
how
that's a
did
good
that,
thing, QE, because it means you won't you're not expecting as much out of the situation as you would have been if you got to put in all the preparation that you wanted to. So there you're going.
I'm not going to use it as an excuse, though. I'm just going to go shoot the best I can. My sight and peep and other stuff's not correct, but what you going to do? In fact, Betty told me, she said, listen, when you're there, because I'm going to be shooting with a bunch of people, bring up the Coriolis effect. And how I'm hitting the targets right and everyone's hitting them wrong is because they're not taking in the Coriolis effect, correct?
Yeah, but isn't that, I mean, that's messing with them on a level that turns you into a troll, really, doesn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it does. I'm not going to do it.
Good.
It's fun. It's fun, though.
No, but that's gamesmanship, I thought, where you get into the other player's head so he's off his game.
Yeah, but he's almost trying to sell him the idea that he's winning because he is taking the fact that Earth turned underneath his arrow into account. That's what he's saying. That's what.
Yeah, I know. But what do you think gamesmanship is?
the United States did it to the communists. I mean, why wouldn't he do it to the people he's shooting against?
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Speaking of which, how did that new trigger work out for you?
New trigger is outstanding. That's one thing that is working.
I'm sure
I was
we're all
wondering
very
how that
relieved.
would work out, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah,
I
I'm
am
starting
too.
to spread that little tactic around, and a lot of people are saying, Now, not too many people have tried it yet, but I think that's coming. But we'll see. It's not a biggie.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You were so vague and non-specific.
Yeah, we talked about it before. It's sort of a inside type of thing. I'm using a resistance release as a thumb relaxation release. I think we talked about this before.
We definitely did.
Can I talk about what's on
Yes.
screen?
Please, God, do. Please,
I
please, God, yes.
I think we can end it right there.
Yes, Brian, please do. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, I just want to point out something. Earlier on, I spoke about...
I'm really sorry to do this. I've just changed the sound setting. Can you guys in Discord hear Brian?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Brian. Sorry about that.
Well,
that doesn't mean they want to hear me, but... but yeah, earlier on, I spoke about how the globe's 60 nautical miles per degree will give them 80.5 statute miles because you're having a constant 7/6R rate being taken into account with their horizon. Now, we don't have that problem with just the reality sea horizon in the real world, but they have that problem. Yesterday, I spoke about how this is the angle. See this here, this line here, this orange line, that is their tangent plane, right? They then, right? They they claim that this is the tangent plane that's touching their sphere, which is this here underneath at one point. And they take this angle. And what they do then, right, I just want to point out here, this angle, this is where it would finish on the celestial sphere model. But in reality, it goes up to there because the sky is not curved, right? In reality, it's not that the star is here, you don't know where the star is, but the angle becomes that length of a hypotenuse, right? The reason it becomes that length of a hypotenuse is because the hypotenuse length and the opposite is based off of the adjacent length, which is determined by the zenith angle derivation multiplied by 60, right? So that's where the adjacent length comes from, and that determines the opposite and especially the hypotenuse length when we're talking about when we're talking about celestial navigation. But what they then do is they take this protractor, which is the celestial sphere model, and they place a smaller protractor inside it, and they claim that is one hemisphere of their globe, right? And they also claim that this globe that they're claiming, or this hemisphere, has a radius value of, or distance value of 3,959 miles. So that means that what that will mean is the angle that is taken here that goes from this point to this point, right, can then be transferred down onto this smaller, or sorry, from this point over to this point, sorry, can then be, it's then also happening simultaneously on this smaller protractor that they're claiming has a radius value, a real world radius distance of 3,959 miles. So then all they have to do is take this curved distance that is in angles, which is 45 degrees just for ease, and multiply this 45 degrees by 60 to get 2,700 nautical miles, and then multiply that by 1.1508 to get a statute mile distance, right, that they can claim has been measured along this curve that will match reality. That's what they do. That is the hijacking they do, right? But this is where they fail. It all fails at the very minute they put in this tangent plane, because they claimed for years that 60 nautical miles per degree only works on the globe, right? Before we knew about celestial navigation and other things, that was their claim. We just had to listen to it and ignore it each time. Well, not all the time, but we had to just tolerate them saying it. Because they were using the baseline of the celestial sphere model protractor, right? And they were claiming that was actually the center. I just show that was actually the center of their globe, right? That was a plane through their globe, right? This was their claim. But right, so that's how they hijacked that correct distance. That's how they did it. And they were able to turn it from nautical miles to statute miles. Because obviously, this still 45 degrees or 2,700 nautical miles along this bigger protractor roof here, but that's not going to have a conversion rate to statute miles of 1.1508. It's going to be like way more. It's going to be like a conversion rate of 4.57 or some nonsense like that. It's going to be way huger than the conversion rate that will go on here. But they start off with a tangent plane, right? And the tangent plane, as I said earlier, when they claim that they're using a tangent plane, it's firstly an admission that they're not, I'm feeding back on someone there, it's firstly an admission that they can't use this curved surface. That's the first thing. And when they do that, because they're using reality, this is the angle they're getting. This one here, if they take a 45-degree angle, this is their hypotenuse, which will go out further. It won't be on a curved sky. It'll go out further and make a right-angle triangle. This is the hypotenuse. This is the adjacent, which is the length that gives the hypotenuse its length. And this is the opposite, which is the zenith from the GP point, which would be here, right, up to wherever the star is up here. But this hypotenuse is determined by the distance between the observer and the GP point, right? So once they use that, they have actually measured 60 nautical miles per degree, right, between that will match 69.048 statute miles in a conversion rate between the observer here and the star's GP over here. That's what they have done. They literally are claiming for years that that doesn't work on a flat plane when they are doing it on a flat plane and proving it on a flat plane for years, for centuries, if we're talking about whatever length of time the celestial navigation is going on. And just to show what I mean, is here, and just to show this line. So this line here, I'll just make it a bit more thick so everyone can see it, and make it like a red or something like that, right? Like that, yeah. Right, you can see the kind of black line here, which is what I wanted. I'm not doing it. Anyway, either way, this line here goes from this point to this point. This is the exact same length as this curved line that's underneath it, as part of their dingleberry, right? This curved line here that they're claiming that they got 60 nautical miles per degree using, right, basically just by hijacking the protractor, right? They got a 60 nautical miles matching 69 statute miles, right, per degree along this curved line here, after they had already measured it horizontally, because that's the only way you can measure it in reality. And then they've moved this angle measurement from this tangent plane down into onto the baseline of the celestial sphere model. They've added in their own smaller protractor that they have claimed has a radius value of 3,959 miles, which they got from the back engineering of elevation angles, flat Earth horizontal plane elevation angles to Polaris, right, using what they claim these days is a refracted horizon, right? It gets more ridiculous. So their radius value, their 3959, is a back calculation from flat Earth horizontal plane elevation angles to Polaris, right? So they had to hijack that first before they even got to the point of being able to claim that they had a 3959 radius, statute mile radius for their smaller protractor. So they already, they already have to measure a horizontal 60 nautical miles per 69 statute miles distance before they can even hijack it and put it onto their surface of their sphere. So the whole thing is a total sham for them, because as soon as they put the tangent plane there, that means first of all they're admitting they can't use the curved surface of their globe, and secondly it means that they have to measure a horizontal distance where 60 nautical miles, 60 minutes of degree, will always match 69.048 statute miles. Now, I'll leave anyone want to say anything, because I'm kind of talking a good while there.
No, it's been great.
I know it.
I gave you the commendation on the live show, Brian, because of the quality of the information you're disseminating at the moment. And I kind of try and, I don't know, not undermine it, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, make light of it by saying that you're like some terrier tied up behind the building ready to gnaw their legs off. Once they've got so far in begging the question, they get to you.
Yeah, I do but I understand that. Like, you can't take yourself too serious. You can't expect other people to take you too serious. But I do like to be in a position where I have all kinds of facts to do with their own model, that as soon as they try to beg the question, where I can point out where it all goes wrong for them. You know, but obviously, as a debate tactic, begging the question, halting that immediately is the thing to do.
Brian, he butchered it. Listen back to the show. I put the team together.
I didn't know that, Neil. You caught out.
I was thinking that globe Earth claims are similar to, like, my mom used to lose her glasses on top of her head and go around thinking that we were messing with her, you know? Like, it seems like all globe Earth claims now are like that, you know? They require the flat plane, they're using the flat plane, and then they're just asserting it's a globe afterwards.
Which when we say if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, they'll turn around and say, but that's a straw man. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of like my mom, you know, getting mad at me thinking I hid her glasses from her when it's like on her head. You know? It's just kind of blatant.
Hold on, I walk around looking for tools all day that I'm holding.
That's because people like that are doing it in orthographic view. That's why they're confused.
The only difference would be is if, like, somebody pointed out to you, Neil, that you were holding that tool in your hand, and you're like, "No, I'm not." That's kind of what we deal with, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, you're right.
Anyone seen my keys? Yeah, Dad, it's in your right hand. Oh, okay.
Can I just point out that this is, I think, a 5-stage hijacking, right? Because first thing they must do is hijack perspective 1, horizontal plane 2. Then they must hijack the celestial sphere model 3, and then they must hijack the flat plane elevation angles to Polaris to give them their radius 4. And then they must hijack the curved roof of the celestial sphere model as a way of matching nautical statute miles on the curve of their globe model. So just offhand, I can see 5 hijackings after happening here, just for them to be able to claim that they have a correct distance along the surface of their sphere that has a radius value of 3959 miles in statute miles. So that's 5-stage hijacking. That's what that is. Right here, 5-stage hijacking. And I'm sure there's more, there's probably more, just offhand, 5-stage.
Yeah, that reminds me, I wanted to tell Nathan about the perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, that whole spiel he gives. At the end of it, he needs to say that requires 2 flat planes to calculate. Or throw that in there too.
I'm going to say it's the, again, the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator that required 2 flat planes to assert.
Yeah, to calculate, yeah.
Calculate. That required 2 flat planes to calculate. Yeah, did. And they're in there, they're labelled. One of them's labelled ground level.
And eye level, ground level and eye level.
Yeah, they've got the 2 parallel planes.
So definitely a sphere then.
Well, why would they have the 2 parallel planes above the dingleberry? It's because they're a pre-required necessity to assert you're on a globe. It's part of the maths.
Right.
It's neat though the way that they've graphed the positions relative to altitude underneath the flat plane you need to measure those angles.
Yeah,
so you can understand how vision works.
I can't believe we didn't spot it. I can't believe we never made note of it when we were using the calculations and begging the question with them.
It was nice and subtle in a little serrated line. So it's like here, if you look at what's on screen, what would people have been focusing on? They would have been focusing on this down here. How are we getting an angle from the center? You haven't been to the center. They've only ever drilled down 8 miles. No, this tangent plane thing up here is the thing to focus on. But we wouldn't have known that. You know, we can also make this argument, but we wouldn't have known about this because we were too focused on this point down here that they are after bringing up, is where they get their angles from. You know, that's the problem. And it's like in this line here in Metabunk is a little serrated thin line that says horizon line.
Does Mick still have the bulge? I haven't been over to his website in a long time. Does he still have they call it the bulge? He still had it?
I would expect so. I don't know. I haven't been there for a long time to answer. Sorry.
That's okay. Because I heard a flat earther talking about the bulge. It was the day before yesterday, I think. There never has been a bulge. Even if it was a sphere Earth, there wouldn't be a bulge. By the way, flat earthers. My God.
Hold on. There was a battle at the bulge. I learned it in school.
I know, but yeah. Not what we're talking about.
The point he's making is that in their rhetoric, you're stood at the top of the sphere at all times. So what you're looking at, if you're claiming a bulge, is the point between you and what is obscured, formerly known as Earth curve. But that point has dropped away from your visual position at 8 inches per mile squared, according to their claim. It's not rising up, is QE's point.
Right.
Did you guys follow that in Discord? In regards to the bulge?
Yeah, loud and clear. It's pretty evident once someone points it out to you.
Cool. It's good to get their rhetoric right, even if they all rearrange it. Like I say many times, that's why they're just as dangerous as us. But in many instances, we're more accurate with their globe assertions than they are. Half of our battle is to get the anti-flat earthers to concede to their original globe claim so we can take that apart.
Well, there's a lot of flat earthers that get Jedi mind tricked by the anti-flat earth arguments, and after a time, after a spell, they just adopt them as their model. Well, that's not even their model. So make sure you evaluate every claim from anti-flat earther or glober is the moral of the story.
At this point, wouldn't it be more appropriate to say flat earth glober or flat earth anti-flat earther?
Oh, by the way, talking about which, 2 days ago, Owen Benjamin had David Weiss on and Crow 777. And David Weiss brought on the concept of anti-flat earther very specifically to a pretty big audience, mind you. So that was good to hear. Just wanted to let know.
And he credited Flat Earth Debate and me by name, didn't he? So we got lots of audience participation as a result.
I'm not sure about that.
No, bummer. Hey, fuck him.
But he used he separated it, like called them anti-flat earthers, and he made an elaborate point of it. So just want to say the lingo is getting out there.
It's actually worse.
We're making an impact in our own community. Hooray!
Indeed.
It's actually a lot worse than that. They are hypocrites because they go against the official globe narrative. So they're anti-official globe narrative. And then they're anti-flat earth. So they're in a limbo. They don't even belong here.
I appreciate you telling
Get
us
off
that.
our flat lawn, you
I appreciate
earthers.
you telling us, Arwin, because what you're trying to say is the notion of an what were they previously called? Globe head, for example, is an inference that they're globe believers, and they're not. So the fact that that notion is permeating throughout our community, as much as I'm sarcastic, it's not like we should just have an all-encompassing ethereal reach throughout flat Earth. Why would we? This is a small channel, but by the same token, it'd be nice if we did.
Well, at first, we didn't really distinguish. We just called them all globetards, and we didn't actually look as to how they were responding and try to back engineer that to figure out where they're at as much. Now we're much more focused on all that, and so we had to split it up, right, into very distinct anti-flat earthers and just globers that are just going by what they were taught and they don't know better.
The official
that's their fault. They're the ones who started going against their very own claims in the same breath sometimes. So that's not our fault. That's your fault. How do you make a claim and then go against that?
Yeah, it kind of is. Hold on, let me just correct Chocolate. Hold on, Owen. Let me just correct Chocolate. It kind of is. I'll give you a very specific and well-known example. So you and your reference frames are ruined. Right? Is that an attack on the globe? No, it's an attack on me. So Simon Dan wants to tweet at me that the words that have come out of my mouth are wrong. Now, he hasn't identified that the words that have come out of my mouth are his claim, but that doesn't matter. He's attacking me. In other words, it's a consequence of our very existence that we have anti-flat earthers attacking us with something that defeats their globe claim in the first instance. So I think we're kind of to blame just for being here because we bring out that in other people. Bit self-deprecating, but
Well, no, what it is anti-flat earthers make claims like you and your reference frames are round, the horizon is refracted at a rate of 7/6R. But what's actually happening is anti-flat earthers are making anti-globe claims, and they don't know it.
If you look at it from another way, there's only anti-flat earthers because globe claims on their own do not defend the globe.
Yeah, There's a faction of
they
people that want to
abandoned them.
retain the globe and can't get around the demonstrations that the globe hasn't got to offer. So they can't get around it, so they have to make up a new, extraneous to the original claim to overcome the undoing of the original claim. And do they care that it stomps all over the original claim in so doing? No, so long as you're challenging a flat earther and claiming he's a dumbass at the end of it, then win-win.
Sorry, did you say? I'm sorry. Did you say ethereal before? I tried to stop it before, but I can't. You know, you got.
I did. Was it contextually incorrect?
Yeah. Well, you can't be doing that because we're going to have to bring that up to the emissary to the Ethereum embassy first.
Oh, that's not the same ether. This is with an E, ethereal, not ethereal.
Is the emissary here?
Do everything.
I'm sorry. Is the emissary here again for the third time?
No, he was in the pre-show, and he said that that was the new title you gave him, and so we crowned him. We crowned him.
I see him.
Besides, I am the ethereal emissary with an E.
No,
he's here now.
He's back. Would somebody please let him speak?
I am vaguely here. I'm just driving again, so yeah, that would be.
Peace be upon him.
Thank you very much. Please be seated, gentlemen.
Before you take your crown, what did you relinquish to me this morning?
I have no crown. There's no crown. It was just my ego only asked for a title.
What did you relinquish to me before you get this new title?
Oh God, what was it? Oh, don't cut my head's up my back.
You're the ambassador.
Would people just leave Adam speak?
You're the ambassador. I'm trying to hang on, Brian. This is a earlier joke. So, in order for him to accept a new position as ambassador to the Ethereans, he had to give up his old ambassadorship to the Polonian people, to me.
No, he's not an ambassador. He's an emissary.
Yeah.
That's right. He doesn't have to give up his diplomatic function.
Yeah, so he's still the ambassador to the Polonians.
Okie dokie. Yes, Polonian people aside. Hello.
Yes, you can.
He's got to adjudicate. Hello. He's got to adjudicate on the word ethereal when contextually I was talking about an ethereal reach, as in extremely delicate and light in the way that it seems to be not of this world, as opposed to of the ether.
Wave function origin?
No. Wide-reaching was what I was going for. Wide-reaching and sort of mysterious. In the respect that we automatically connect with everyone that's of the understanding the Earth is flat, which we don't have. So I was saying I can't expect to have some sort of ethereal reach.
Well, ethereal is like another way to say intuitive or spiritual, right? It is where things, you do perceive them, but you don't necessarily know how to categorize them for yourself.
Exactly. That's what I was going for. Sort of, I didn't want to say omnipish, whatever that word is, because I can't say it. So I went with a different word that I could say. Omnipotent, I should have said. An omnipotent reach over flat Earth.
Omnipotent?
How about omnipotent?
You got it, so I went with ethereal.
Actually, Nathan's a father. He's not impotent.
Did you see what I changed the name of Master B to?
Master Disciple or something like that?
Yeah, Master Disciple.
No, Master Discipline.
Are you a friar now?
I am.
But I do not like change, however.
I like my
The
wings
photograph
well
is
done.
excellent.
I like my wings well done, friar.
Extra crispy.
It's a good point.
Are you chickening out on us?
Thank you for bringing that up, because there's definitely going to be some darn chicken wings this weekend. Thank you.
I didn't think you'd want your event to go foul.
Wait, wingies? We're talking wingies?
Ballbusters tomorrow, right?
Neil's input,
Negative.
accompanied by a copyright strike.
Wait, what? No.
No ball busters tomorrow.
Kiwi, do you have chicken feathers in your arrows? Or what's going on here?
Chicken feathers, nah.
So
Did
was
the emissary to the Ethereum embassy give a ruling?
Query for the adjudication. Good.
Okay, fair enough.
You realise he's just fobbed this off after causing chaos. He's just come in, QE, caused a bit of chaos, ruffled a few feathers, and then gone, I'm sick of this. Adam, you deal with this mess I've caused.
What you got to remember is,
Hold on. Let me tell you what happened. Because Adam was so articulate, calm, measured that we all voted. We all voted that he should lead the charge now because of the bad QE. That he would be more of a public. I brought it up as we need more of a public relations person, but Adam, with his ego, required a title, so we had to come up with an official title for him.
What I'm not hearing there is a strong denial from QE. So essentially, he's just agreed and sidestepped every word I've just said, which is obviously true.
No, we don't need translations.
Are you cute to bad QE? I heard that.
We don't want translation, is what I'll translate that to.
No, I'm getting everything you guys are saying.
So, Adam, do you want to take it upon yourself to deal with the Etherites?
I enjoyed the topic, so I'm quite happy to discuss it and go through the understood nuances of it, really, if people want. Yeah, I've looked into it myself.
How well vetted are you?
It seems to frustrate me a lot less than anybody else discussing the topic, so...
That's what concerns me.
You?
Perhaps you're an ether sympathizer. Were you ever an ether believer or sympathizer?
In the past, yeah. I mean, I remember when I went on Globebusters and discussed this, and it's the first time I said publicly, this is our shame, because this is what us flat earthers do with our gaps in our knowledge, our issues. The ether is the flat earth's dark energy and dark matter. I don't think it was received too well, but I've always viewed it like that because what is it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I've always had probably an interest in it, which probably is why it doesn't frustrate me, because if I'm being honest, I don't necessarily preclude it. If you see what I mean.
Lost you.
Your mic's falling off.
Lost you. It's been replaced by copyright strike worthy stuff from Neil.
Nope.
Adam was nearly done.
I have. Okay, hang on.
I wouldn't say that it is.
This is unbelievable.
It's specifically of flat Earth. I think
I have
it's
an
an
objection.
and we just end up with it.
I have
Because
an objection.
Ballers have gravity already to get hung up on.
I got a lot of objections.
Owen, do you just start conversations like myself in the middle?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, just like everybody else, except I actually have a point.
Well, you just keep going. And poor Adam's trying to get his statement through, and I don't know. Whatever.
Anyway, Chocolate, can you stop interrupting? I was quite interested in what Aaron had to say there.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I have an objection to it's the way Adam said that. And he said that this is the flat earthers something. No, this is
dark matter.
Yeah, dark matter. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, great. So we're flat earthers. We don't have it. They say they're flat earthers and they have it. So I wouldn't label it that way. I'd find another way of saying it.
And had he been on Globebusters last week, I'm sure he would too, given this was probably about 3 years ago.
Well, my point is, since he's the emissary and his first week on the job, he needs to get it right.
You need to retrospectively correct that immediately, Adam.
Yeah, because wait a second, he said he was always interested in it. In what?
Retroactively?
Yeah. If you look at
The
Arwin's,
conversation.
if you look at Arwin's first video, they deny. You're not an ether denier, are you, Neil?
I want validation of anything that comes to this platform.
That's not what I asked you.
That's a red herring.
Yeah. But, yeah, I used to look at it, reify it. I think in many ways, both in fantasy stuff, which Arwin will relate to if you look at his videos, yeah. It's always been a way of viewing things. You're just a fan of the history of science. You're going to come across it, yeah. Because say even Einstein has it. Where we've took the debate to is, hopefully, like I said, it's no longer a place to dump your problems, and that's what's important to me. And if you're going to use it, got no problem with somebody using it, but we need to define it first. And I think it's the stage we're at.
Adam, if I could ask you a question, rather than saying, and this is just my take on it, rather than saying it's the flat earthers, if you were to identify Whitsitt or Bob and say, Bob believes in ether, Whitsitt believes in ether, and on a side note, they also believe in the flat earth. But to say flat earthers, dark matter, is not the proper attributing.
Exactly.
It's not just them two, though.
No, I just use them to signify, but you can't say flat earthers because
you can't say flat earthers full stop.
Right, it's not unique to our format. It's just we happen to stumble upon it because we're not held back by globe machinations like the globers.
No, because there are just as many globe earthers that would have this concept of ether. Einstein, for example, but all the electric universe guys, they think something's happening. Look at modern bullshittery where quantum mechanics get stuck. They invent a quantum phone. What is that? It's just ether by any other name, a place to dump your problems. Things you can't explain that ruin your model. Invent an imaginary medium to put your problems into, and then it doesn't ruin your model.
Yeah, that's not the point I'm making, though. The point I'm making is saying, like, for example, Adam Meekin believes this. Adam Meekin knows this. And then someone comes along and starts using Adam Meekin as flat earth title. So if all flat earthers, or what's bad about the flat earthers, and so it's tied to flat earth. When you've got opinions I might disagree with and vice versa, but we agree on flat earth. But then maybe Whitsitt, who agrees on flat earth, goes into the ether world, and we, as a group here, have said, well, can you show it to us? No, it's non-manifest. Well, then how do you expect me to believe it the way you do if it's not manifest? Okay, so now we have flat earth in sequence with Whitsitt, but we don't have this in sequence. So I'm just saying you can't say flat earthers, you have to say Whitsitt.
I think I got a remedy. Ether is the pretended clown, flat earthers, dark matter. How about that?
I like that.
Okay.
I don't, and I'll tell you why.
What I like to, sorry, can I please? I'll keep it short. What I like to say now is
very short.
Yes, I am actually very short, unlike Brian, but Brian has good things to say. Right, but to me, ether is the next aberration. It follows the same pattern as gravity. It follows the same belief patterns with people that are invested in it as gravity. And yeah, so to me, this is the next aberration. Now, ballers might be hooked up and call gravity like the ultimate thing. We don't do that anymore because we know gravity's fake. It's inherent to the way our learning path has gone, right? So now ether just is the next thing in front of the door, and that's why more flat earthers get hung up on it. That's all.
That wasn't
it's
very
an
short.
aberration.
That wasn't short.
It was a minute.
What my problem with what Kiwi said is not that your statement is not a statement of fact theory, because it is. But the problem is that ether is heliocentrism. So every globe believer is a ether believer, whether they like it or not, because the current, let's say, description of the model involves general relativity. As you very eloquently pointed out, ether is basically the backbone of it. So every one of them are ether believers. So yes, you're right in what you say about the flat earthers, but ether is heliocentrism. So it's like the flat earthers who won't leave the globe. That's what it's like to me.
All right. Well, you need to come up with the appropriate title then.
No, you're better at these things. I'll think about it. I don't know.
No, I mean, look, Brian, there are many titles could be applied. That was a good one you just said there. But QE gave it on the spot to what I was saying. It's like denominations. One denomination says, these are the 5 things we disagree with your denomination. And the other denomination says, well, then I disagree with you because those are essential to me. And so you have splits and all these different things. So now that's happening here in what we call loosely our community. So what is the standard here? Okay, well, we can't get every flat earther to abide by a certain standard. Some want to bring in heliocentric ether, some want to go do here, some want to talk about other things. And here we're trying to say, let's keep it to physics. Let's make sure everyone can validate whatever they're saying. And so we're the odd man out being so strict, which I like, by the way, about what definitions are. And some flat earthers don't care for definitions.
Well, it's like someone becoming a Christian, but wholly after being, let's just say, a Sikh or maybe some other religious, having some other religious belief, but holding on to parts of the other religious belief.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So they become a different denomination. Of course it is. Of course it is, because you have to line your views up to the standard. It's not my view that makes something right. Is something right? Yeah, okay, then I'm going to go with something right. What's your view? Well, I follow empirical evidence. I follow objective thinking. I'm not subjective in this issue here. I could be subjective about how I like my steak cooked, but it's still a cow.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember a lad who was Muslim until it was time to go drinking, and then he wasn't Muslim because Muslims don't generally drink, do they?
Oh, I remember. I remember a glober who thought the Earth was spinning until it wasn't.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!